Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Fistful of Dice. My name is Matt, and tonight we have a special treat for you. We are going to be playing in the Viking setting of Iskloft, created by Lloyd Collins, the Jarl DM, who is here game mastering for us the AbTab for on my channel. If you're interested in checking out Iskloft, I have two links down in the description. The first one is going to be the link to the Iskloft Kickstarter, which is already fully funded and blowing through stretch goals. It's looking awesome. You can check out some of the art and some of the previews of different classes and races that are going to be in the book with that link. And then the second link is going to be a link to the Jarl DM channel, where there are like 1,000 Iskloft games to check out. So the proof is in the pudding. Iskloft is a setting that has been played in for like many hundreds of hours between many dozens of game masters. So definitely go check it out. So enough of my yakking. I'm going to toss it to Lloyd to go ahead and start running this game. So Lloyd, take it away.
It's fucking snowing again for the 10th day in a row as you trek across this endless fucking country. You have been walking just forever, and it has been so tiresome. Every day there is this powdery snow that gets everywhere. Your feet are constantly soaked, and every night you have to stop and you have to warm your feet by the fire and dry out your snowshoes as best you can. But every night there's just this chill in your bones that won't go away. And you've been walking now for, as I say, about 10 days. You had fought recently in a skirmish. You'd sold your swords there. The once great Jarl Einar, now not much more than a sellsword, making your money where you can. You were paid, and then even walking south in the hopes of getting somewhere warmer for the winter. And it's in this sort of state that we find you as you approach Trafljot, which is this village at the meeting of three rivers that head out to the sea. You can see it in the distance. You think maybe another hour or so. You can see the lights and the fires up ahead. As you approach, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are on Einar, who walks in front of me, pace by pace by pace. People call him the once great Jarl, but to me, always great. He's got to keep up. Step by step through the snow, the chill, the wind. He looks forward and he sees the lights on the horizon, and he stops himself from becoming too excited before he says, "See, feast your eyes in the distance."
Carr is likely bringing up the rear of this procession. He leans on what appears to be a sturdy staff, but upon closer inspection, you see the steel that tips it and realize that it is a great spear. His thoughts are going back to the last time that he was here, when he was only a boy, and when every healer, every seer, every wise person in Iskloft told him that he wouldn't live to see his next winter. But the people here in this village, they healed him. And though his face is forever marred by the memory of that sickness that took him as a child, he lives today, walks today beside Einar and the procession because of the people in this village. And so as he sees this village in the distance and he hears his comrade call out, he feels a mixture of excitement, but also hesitation, because it has been many, many years.
So you continue along your way up this path, past some forests and past some farmsteads as well. You'll see there's a boy out. It's kind of coming into evening, and he's trying to like pull this goat back into the house. And it's resisting, and he's like pulling, and he's like swearing loudly as he's doing so. And he like turns and sees these like lords of war in mail, resplendent with blades and axes, and his face just like drops, and he stands there sort of stunned and lets go of the goat, which like runs around the corner, and he's standing there like obviously afraid. And his mother like comes out and grabs him by the back of the shirt and like pulls him into the house and closes the door.
There are two voices in Einar's head. One of them is telling the truth. He doesn't know which one it is some days. But the one that's loudest in his ears now is, "You're too old. You're too old. You're frail. You, Jarl. You're weak. You." Another voice. "Don't be the one. Don't be the one who's slow. Don't be the one who's weak." The other voice. "You're pathetic." He settles on that voice. And as he sees the goat run around the corner, he doesn't care.
You walk past these farmsteads and into the village itself. You cross a bridge over the river. And you kind of head up this winding slope that leads to a sort of walled settlement. There's a boy there guarding the gate. You would call him a boy. He's probably 15 or so. With a spectacle helm that's far too big for him and a spear in his hand. And he like looks at the approaching glory of you warlords, and he doesn't say anything. He just watches as you pass towards the longhouse that you can see at the top of this hill. It's there that you're finally stopped for the first time. You've walked all the way to the Jarl's longhouse, and there's a guard outside here, a little bit older, a little bit more confident, and he'll call out, "Who approaches? It's late for guests."
And I would, before Einar potentially addresses these men, I would step forward and whisper to him, "The Jarl here is named Hengist Arnson. He is the one we should be speaking with."
And as sort of that happens, you know, this little bit of this whispering, Greta would step forward from this party and announce basically the party. You know, it's Einar, and of course, if she knew everybody's names, you know, Carr. Well, rather, she would pronounce everybody's names correctly. So, but probably first and last names, sort of announcing, and I am Greta. We're here to see, and you know, probably also knowing the name of the the Jarl would say, you know, kind of just, yeah, you know, we're here to see him, and that's who we are. And potentially hoping that these guards know, you know, have heard of us.
And at Greta's speaking, Einar shies away for a moment, like he doesn't feel like he deserves to speak. But then he feels that he needs to show face, and he musters something up, and he spits, and then he whispers, you know, "I'm not dead yet. We're here to see Hengist, the Jarl. As the woman said."
The man kind of looks between you and sees the wealth of your weapons and the glint of your mail, maybe a little bit rusty, but still, that is the gear of warriors. You like look around. All right, The Jarl won't turn you down, not at a night like this. Perhaps this hall is less welcoming than usual. Things have not gone well of late. You'll leave your weapons with me.
So Lloyd, Iskloft question, right? Because I'm familiar with the setting, but how common would it be for us to actually leave our weapons with you? Would we do that as a sign of respect?
Yeah, so generally if you come to like a Jarl's hall, it would only be the Jarl himself and like his huskarls that were allowed to be armed inside. So it would be normal to give over weapons.
And I would probably elbow Carr. And I know his trick. I do know. And I'm like, do you need your walking stick?
I can manage. And I would hand out the this spear, which is itself carved with dozens of runes, of which I've added over the years. And I would hand it out to the nearest guard. And I would know that he would treat that steel with respect, and that I am pretty much guaranteed to get it back in the shape that I gave it up in.
Yeah, it would be common custom for him to like leave your weapons just inside the door so that you could see them while you're in there. So like there's no, they'll always be in view of you. You're just not going to like hold them while you're talking to the Jarl.
Sure.
So you're brought into this hall, and it's warm. There's a great hearth in the center, and the smoke kind of coming through the roof. And at the end, there's this big table, and you can see definitely who the Jarl is. He's sitting at the center. He's got this like fine green tunic. He has a golden torque around his neck, which is unusual in itself. Gold is very rare in Iskloft. He also has a golden arm ring on each arm, so obviously wealthy. And he's eating comfortably, and there's like some huskarls sitting on either side of him who are eating as well, and also like their families, their children, people running around and whatnot. It's busy. There's a singer singing a song, and like the sort of soft beat of drums as he like recants the poem, a tale of Lokasenna as Loki comes to the hall of Asgard and insults all of the gods. People are like occasionally like laughing raucously as he like drops those tales. But as you walk in, the Jarl will see, and he'll like gesture for you to come over, and he'll like click his fingers impatiently, and this thrall girl will come forward and she'll like make space for you at the table and bring out drinks and things like that for you to enjoy.
Godalder takes the horn of mead or whatever beverage is handed to him, and he drains it immediately, spilling some down his face, and he hands it back to the thrall haphazardly.
Well, the Jarl is about to speak, and he smiles at your belch, a sign of enjoying the drink. Well, you are most welcome. It's fortuitous that you've arrived, actually. I do not know your name. My man says you are Einar. A Jarl?
Einar would falter for a moment and, embarrassed in front of the others, would begin to say yes, and then remember himself, and he would say, yes, once. Now I am not.
It is not uncommon to fall in hard times. We suffered similar recently. We had an attack by a Skulfin Reavers. We paid them to go away. And so our haul is somewhat lessened.
You mentioned he had a lot of gold on him. Would this be in contrast to what he's saying, or this would still be normal? So yeah.
Yeah, it's unusual. Like, I mean, so what'll often happen is like reavers will come and they'll threaten to like destroy the place or like burn the farms or whatever, and so the Jarl will generally just like pay them money to go away, as opposed to try and fight them. So he's obviously paid them with whatever silver that they had, but also he just has all this gold, which is unusual for sure.
And so one of my features is called I Know Him. And it allows me to, one of my duties to the Jarl is to, study the Jarldoms and everything. And if I'm in a court-like situation, I always know at least one person there by reputation and know at least one deed they're known for. Is it possible that I would know the actual Jarl, or do we want to do someone else? That basically I kind of want to get a foot in the door to ask this guy a little bit more.
So I think you would know, not this Jarl, but you would know of his line that they were once significantly better off than they are now. You would know of his like great grandfather, who would be Asbjorn, sort of famous Jarl in this region, very, very wealthy, like monstrously wealthy. But obviously that has like filtered away over the years or whatever. So this is like the lesser son, it seems. You would know of that legacy.
Somewhat playfully, Greta would say, "Oh, by Asbjorn, you've still got your gold on you, I see. Reaver's not interested in that these days, huh?" And take a swig from whatever this drink is.
He'll smile. Well, we paid them a great deal of money, but I still have to pay my warriors.
And despite your losses, you see fit to offer us hospitality. It does not go unappreciated. Thank you.
Hospitality, guest rights, those are old customs, and important ones, I say. Nonetheless, it is fortuitous that you are here. We are in sore need of warriors.
And I think I would nudge Gudaldar? Gudaldar. And I think I would say, he's looking for men like you.
This catches Gudaldar off guard as he's taking another swig of his second drink and spills some and looks and realizes that what the Jarl just said, that they need warriors, and he gives this face like this. Something like that. And he says, he remembers actually, he makes that noise, but he remembers the skirmish that they just had, days before. And he looks to Greta and says, "That's the warrior, no doubt, eh?" And he remembers the way that Greta just maybe massacred a line of people or took down 3 people at once or something, however she did it, and just nods over in her direction.
And Greta would, as she's drinking, kind of side, like, look at him when he makes this crazy face and kind of a very subtle smile, downplaying, how much carnage she may have caused. So I don't want to, do something that would be outside of the culture or something. So if you can help me with that, but I would want to kind of imply like, well, if there's more money where, if there's still money left, we might be of service, but not if that's not the sort of thing I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you don't work for free, so yeah, it wouldn't be unreasonable to ask for like recompense in some way.
Yeah, so Greta would probably, after that, kind of him blowing me up a little bit, saying, well, we are warriors, and assuming that, the great grandson of Asbjorn hasn't spent all of his money, maybe we can be of service. What is it you need?
We were recently beset by those Iskloft scum, and we had to pay them to go away. But I do believe that with your help and the men here in the village, that you could take back that money. I know that they're still in the region. They have raided some of the other towns. There's significant silver there, I would imagine.
So, question about the world as well. Is it considered dishonorable to go and take back the gold that you paid to make them go away, or is it considered rightfully yours?
It's a gray area for sure. Like you've paid them, and there's obviously an agreement made that they wouldn't come back, but it also depends on them also sticking to that, which often is not the case. They'll just take the silver, and then like a year from now, 6 months from now, they'll just come back and ask for more silver because they know you're going to pay, because they know you're afraid, you know. So
yeah. It's like mafia protection money.
Exactly.
You're like, oh, you got to pay us,
Exactly.
so we'll protect you, but it's kind of shady.
And so what I think I would do, I think Einar has had this happen. And perhaps maybe this is even where he started to falter and fall as a Jarl, is there was, you know, particularly these raiders that came to where he ruled, and always Einar would fight. Always Einar would fight. And one day, Einar paid the silver and the horn of gold. And that was probably, so there's something there deep where he looks at Godalder, and he looks at Greta, and he even looks at Carr. And then he looks back at Hingeist, and he says, he points at Godalder. This one is the kind who would do it for free. He smiles when he takes a life. And then he points at Carr. But Carr, he is a faithful ally. Someone who, when we are in the heat of battle, brings us back. Makes us keep our wits. But Greta,
you see, as you mentioned, that he brings you back, and like one or two of them will look and see maybe like a runic tattoo or something, that
Right.
several of the men sitting at the table will like grab at their crotches and spit onto the ground to like ward off the evil of the magic.
yeah, totally. Oh, I love that. And like maybe the staff sort of falls a little off the wall. Just. But
And
Greta.
Carr would actually, at that comment, he would sort of, he's used to this, and as the men sort of grab their crotches and spit, he doesn't even look up from his drink, and you just see kind of a smile sort of crease his scarred visage.
And then, you know, as I would get to, and Greta, well, and then I don't know how this would go over, right? Especially in this world, but I'm going to say it anyway. She's twice as good as most of any Jarl's best men. And and then I think I might spit myself.
And upon saying something like that, again, very Greta would be very sort of understated about sort of blowing herself up and more be willing to prove it. But at having something like that being said by someone that, you know, that would make her instill a lot of pride in her to know that, you know, this, her once great Jarl thinks that. And so she would kind of look around the room, almost asking with her eyes for someone to challenge that. Not like meanly, just kind of looking like, listen to the man, you know?
Yeah, you see that you think that the caliber of warrior here is not your equal. As you like look around the room, like they're warriors, but they're not like Drengar. They're not Hairseers. They're not like, you know, like they'll stand in the shield wall and they probably won't run. Maybe they won't shit themselves, but they're not like, you know,
Yeah, they're farmers with axes. Yeah.
And I think that, you know, as this interaction happens, and it's that half second of tension that feels like a minute. And then I say, in me, I'm fucking old.
The Jarl will smile, and he'll like put his elbows on the table and lean forward. But you're a Sculfin, no? That accent.
Yes.
Then you know them. You know how they operate.
I do. all too well. The lies. The season that passes. And then their boats press against the shore once again. And it seems as though they forget that they just had their coffers filled with your silver. Aye.
Then you have to help me. I'll give you my household warriors and we'll raise 30 from the village and you can go and take back all of the silver and I'll give you each a 10th share.
And I think this is the point where it gets strange because I used to be a Jarl. I don't speak for anyone. But sometimes out of habit, I act as though I do. And I think that perhaps I would be silent and it would be awkward.
And I would sort of lean forward. And in the silence, the table would creak as I lean forward. I know. It's good work. Honest work.
And just to use the system, I guess, and less because I actually think this guy is trying to pull one over on us because we are warriors and he knows we'll kill him. I have a thing called Trader's Eye as well, and it allows, this maybe is stretching it a little bit, but it says you have advantage on rolls made to see if a person is trying to swindle you in a deal. Would something like this negotiation be considered a deal? And can I
think so.
So can I roll like insight still here, right? Insight just to see with advantage. Okay, let's see. So that's a 16.
Okay, so your impression is that this guy is definitely opportunistic here, that he sees a chance to get his silver back. But he's offering you a 10th share, which is like a pretty decent deal, especially if there's silver there from other villages. So you think he sees the chance to like get you guys to work for him, but also he's paying you like a reasonable amount.
Yeah, and so Greta would sort of, again, taking a few from her drink, a few swigs, would maybe nod to Einar, like, I'm in,
And I think Einar would be happy of the courtesy. Same of Carr, understanding that this is not necessary or required, but given. And then I think he would look. He would look over to Godalder.
Godalder doesn't look up. He's sitting down at the table and he bangs his fist on the table twice. I am but a fisherman. But then he looks up at Einar and his face changes just for a moment. And he says, now you know I'd follow you wherever. And he goes back to his drink or his meal.
And Einar laughs at his comment as the a genuine laugh. It's probably been days since Einar's had a genuine laugh. And so when he goes, I am but a fisherman, it's like and immediately thinking of all of the times that he has probably pulled the skull from a living man's head. And just thinks, yes, fisherman. So then, and he would address Hengist, and he would address him in such a way as though he were still a Jarl to Jarl, and attempt to make some sort of agreement, because it has crossed his mind that if this opportunistic man is double-crossing the Reavers, that he would certainly double-cross 4 road-weary strangers in the snow. And so would you allow some sort of a check so that I could just gauge his honor or his intention?
Sure, yeah. So you could do insight, or you could roll traditions, because I think there's like a reason why he wouldn't, and you would know it.
Sure. Okay, killer. Okay, so 15 all up.
Okay, so you would know that because he's like brought you into his house and he has like fed you and given you drink and stuff. You're under like the laws of hospitality, which is like a really important thing in Iskloft. Like if a guest comes to your house, it's vital that you treat them well and that you are honest with them and you give them your best. Because then when you are traveling, you can expect that from everyone else. It's just like this pretty much universal law in Iskloft. A custom. There's no actual law, but it's just this is how it is. You're always kind and generous and honest with visitors, guests. So you think it would be like just like awful and really uncharacteristic of anybody, especially a Jarl, to lie to their guests.
Excellent. And so knowing that, what is the Iskloft version of spitting in your palm and shaking hands? Is it spitting in your palm and shaking hands, right? So then with a dry mouth, moistened only with whatever mead was offered, and he holds out a weary, scarred hand.
And he'll shake it.
And I clasp with my other hand and shake not as firmly as I'd like.
So with the deal sort of solidified, the tension kind of lifts, and a lot of the men who are sitting at the table, who would have been like watching quite carefully, will like lean back and begin sort of like chatting to each other again, and like the spirits will raise. A couple of people will come up to you, Car, and like recognize you and be amazed that you still live. Lots of them will like gratefully slap you on the shoulder, probably a little bit too hard, and be like, "It's so great to see you. Blessings." Just like really pleased that you've made it back.
Yeah, and anyone that puts forth that sentiment of like, oh, it's amazing that you're still alive, I would echo that sentiment of like, it is kind of amazing that I'm still alive and I've had a very hard life. And while I'm there and while we're sort of enjoying the evening and eating and drinking, I will of course ply my trade as well, and nothing obscenely magical, but just casting runes and doing simple fortunes and divinations for people, and sort of trying to earn maybe a few hack silver if I can, just doing that.
Yeah, definitely. A couple of the warriors will like be eager to get a reading and like find out where their doom is, where their weird will take them, and like what the appointed hour of their death is. They're very keen to know. Yeah, and so they'll kind of like sit wrapped as you like read the runes, and to them it's just you could tell them anything because they don't understand anything of what you're doing. All these like arcane symbols that they have no idea what they mean, so they're just like watching, and everything you say, they're like, "That's a fact," and they're looking at it like absolute truth.
And as I'm sort of reading these runes and telling people where their fates lie, I keep catching the gaze of Einar, because he and I recently had a conversation, a dire conversation. And in that conversation, I made it clear that I knew where his death was going to happen, and I knew when. But I'm not sure if Einar wanted to know.
And that gaze that you keep catching is the two voices in Einar's head. And he knows them so well. And every time he looks at you, a different voice is there. And one says, "You'll never die. You'll never die." And the other says, "Stop being a coward. Meet it with ferocity. Ask him when and where, so that you can die with honor." And it is for that reason that every night Einar sleeps leaning on his sword in the event that his old heart decides to die. And He continues to look at Carr. And then he looks at young Greta. And he glances over at still drinking Godalder. Healthy, robust. And he probably sizes up Hengist and just starts looking at him. What would I see if I really looked at this Jarl? And I'm looking for that roadmap of scars, that history of who this Jarl is. What do I notice?
So you wouldn't see a roadmap of scars. You think that this Jarl is a merchant more than a warrior. He's got soft hands, with golden rings, and he's got like a face that's lined. But like you don't see the typical sort of like signs of cauliflower ears or of like broken noses and things like that you would expect of a warrior. So you think that this Jarl is probably more a merchant than he is a warrior, and he carries himself that way too. He's kind of like soft-spoken and quick-witted, which often is not the case with those who like get punched in the head repeatedly.
And I think that would be strange and foreign to me. It's just not a way that I understand, though I can't deny that it works.
There's a great many games happening and songs being sung throughout the night. People are playing Nefertafel, and you can like play if you're skilled enough. The sort of Viking chess game. There's other games of like skill and of strength. And because you are like honored guests, they will provide the best to you. And so there's an offer to play the braid game, which involves taking a thrall and like braiding their hair and like putting it onto a wooden board, and then you throw axes and try to cut the hair. So like that's happening in one corner of the longhouse, and people are drinking and telling stories, and you can like chat to the warriors who will tell you about this battle that they were in, and this sort of skirmish that they fought in, and this time that they sailed all the way north to Iskloft and all this sort of stuff. Although you get the impression that almost all of it is bullshit. But the night will go on like that, and you can drink yourself into a stupor if you so wish, with the knowledge that in the morning you'll be heading off to try and find these Iskloft reavers.
Before he goes to bed, Godalder's going to go outside and he's going to look at the sky. Are there any auroras or anything? What does the sky look like?
So it's snowing as it tends to this time of year. Although you would see like through the clouds the bright moon, and occasionally like it will part enough for you to get a good glimpse. There is a full moon at the moment. This great, huge in the sky moon, and you can see like all around you, because you're up on this hill, the snowy fields and forests around.
Godalder's always been very good at sensing bad weather, horrible weather. This is nothing compared to some of the environments that he and his friends and his family have been through. Does he sense anything like that now? Is the worst yet to arrive?
You don't think so. You think it's been mild and it might continue to be so. Like you don't see any sort of like dark stormy clouds. You think it'll like continue to snow sort of lightly, although you don't think it will blizzard or anything like that.
He looks up into the sky before bed and he says, in desperation, "Oh, tell me is wrong." Just a drunken statement. He goes back, falls asleep, thinking about the one reading he once got from Carr that told him he would not die in battle.
As you like turn to go back inside, you get this, for a moment, a sense of foreboding. You like go to turn and you stop. And you can feel it, this like almost like a sound, like something turns or moves, but then it's gone.
He looks around, probably not seeing anything. He shakes his head. That mead. And goes into a slumber, probably sleeping on some sort of hard surface or his red cloak that he lays out on the floor.
Yeah, you would be given comfortable spaces in the long hall, which is like near the hearth, with like furs and stuff on the ground for you to sleep on. And so morning would come earlier than you would wish. I think you would all wake up and regret the actions of the previous night. And there would be like a bustle around the long hall as like people start to get ready. You'll see the warriors like strapping on their mail and like tightening belts and clasps, putting hatchets into hoops and things like that, and getting ready for the journey ahead. And as you kind of like step outside, take a piss, you can see that like they've rallied a bunch of the people of the village. Now you can, if the men inside are not the kind of warriors that you are, the people from the village are nothing like that. They are literally farmers and craftsmen and things like that have been handed a spear and a shield. And you can see them standing there sort of like in an arrangement. And they look nervous, very, very nervous as they stand there awaiting.
And leaning on his spear, Carr would come up alongside Einar. Suddenly you command an army once again, Einar.
You use the term army so liberally.
In my eyes, an army is any amount of armed men bigger than we are.
It's true. And Einar puts his hand on Carr's shoulder and sort of grips it, with sentiment. He says, maybe this is the day that you saw. Maybe not.
You know I will not tell you unless you want to hear it. And I don't think you want to hear it.
And Einar sort of changes the subject. Did you get good rest?
As well as could be expected. I'm ready to go.
Yes. And I would look over at Greta as she, stands there, probably examining the farmers, the kid from Helm's Deep wearing 2 big armor.
That is 100% it. Except he doesn't have armor.
And with Einar looking over, and after the conversation about the, what constitutes an army, Greta would say something like, blood is blood is blood. Knowing that as well as the Jarl is paying the, silver to us that we might get back, he's obviously very willing to pay, the lives of any of these people in this village that can even hoist a spear.
Yeah, absolutely. And Einar would, to that, he would raise a weathered, smooth water skin. And he just sort of uncork it. Here, here.
You would see a horse and a rider approach. Horses, not common, very expensive. They don't do well here in the cold. So you see atop the horse is a man, maybe a boy, in his late teens, in this beautiful mail coat with this like fine helmet with like the mail coming down, and a sword belted at his waist. And one of the, or several of the people would kind of like give a hello. This is the Jarl's son, Asbjorn. And he'll be leading this expedition, you were told, unceremoniously by one of the Huskarls.
Then perhaps I was mistaken. It happens from time to time, I would say quietly to Einar.
And I think I would probably look at Godalder like, this guy?
You'd see his broad shoulders kind of shrug, And then Godalder goes back to holding his head, which is aching immensely.
And I'd also be looking for Greta's reaction, just knowing she could probably cleave him in half.
And Greta probably wouldn't say anything, but if you could read the look on her face, it would say, better him than us.
And I think I would know. I would know Greta's look, that one eyebrow up, and I'd sort of nod and take another drink from my leather flask.
So you'll see that he's like ringed by some of the Huskarls, the warriors of the hall that you had met yesterday, and they're like now armed for war as well. Although not many of them have mail, that is expensive, and this is not a rich part of the world. Most of them wearing like thick leathers or like lots of layers of cloth even. But they all have like stout shields and helmets, and most of them have spears or hatchets. And the Jarl's son will like ride up and down in front of the assembled peasants, and he will say, "A great crime has been committed. We were intimidated into paying Iskloft and scum, reavers. Well, now we have assembled our warriors, and we will go and take it back." He like looks at the peasants who are kind of like looking between each other, and one of the Jarls, the Huskarls, will like, "Yeah!" And then they'll all kind of like also clap and like roar in approval, like they were waiting for a signal. And he will begin to lead you from the village out into the wilderness. You'll walk for the best part of a day. Although you're a band of near 40 armed people, so nothing will hassle you along the way. You'll spot a couple of wolves, as is common in this part of the world, but no wolves are silly enough to attack an army like this. And you walk for the best part of the day through the snow. Your feet are soaked. You are cold but sweating from wearing armor. And a couple of times during the day, you'll see the Jarl's son kind of stop and like look around as if he's not sure where he's going. And he will like lean out of his saddle to like talk to one of the Huskarls, and then like nod and then like head in a certain direction. And you'll stop that evening after a full day of walking in a sort of a copse of trees where you can hide from the snow. And like fires are set up, watches are set up, all that sort of business, and you can have yet another sleep.
I think I would probably casually find one of those Huskarls who has been directing and actually guiding this party versus Asbjorn, and sort of just make casual conversation. And I'm essentially what I'm trying to do is figure out what the real deal is. Like, are my suspicions correct? Is this the soft son of a soft man?
So you can talk to Wiglaf, who's one of the Huskarls. He'll be like sitting and like eating this like hunk of bread and cheese. You're a Sculpin?
Aye, and I'm eating as well, sort of just purposefully, a little sloppily, you know what I mean? Making sure that his guard is down, that I don't come across as anything other than just an old man. Yes, I am. Yes, proud to be there, yes.
And he like leans over and like expels a bunch of snot from his nostril.
And I would offer him what little bit of wine I probably have been storing away for something important. You know, maybe it's just in a separate little skin. And there's a little bit in there, a few swigs. And casually, don't even really look over, don't make a big deal out of it. I kind of just pass it over to him as though it's just me.
He'll just do an assenting grunt and take a slug. And I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah. And I sort of and screw the cap back on. You serve Asbjorn well, it seems, yes?
I serve Hengist. And because I serve Hengist, I serve Asbjorn.
A knowing glance. And he just raises the skin again and just drinks, because I don't know this guy well enough to start talking crap about Asbjorn just yet. I think I would just continue to eat. In fact, I think that's pretty much all I needed to hear. And so I probably just continue to make small talk and ask him of his family or perhaps one of his greatest battles or exploits.
Yeah, he'll tell you that he's from Gunland, and then he came here as a youth to find his fortune, and did not find it. What he found instead was a leash and an oath that kept him here for most of his life. That he's fought a bit here and there and skirmishes and whatnot, but most of the time in this part of the world, the Jarls, they don't want the shield walls. They want to pay and not suffer the wrath of the Reavers that come down almost monthly.
And I would let him talk a lot. I would just let him do all the talking and just listen, nod, laugh when I need to laugh, not disingenuously, but just making an effort of it.
Yeah, he would talk about, I guess no one listens to him. It's not his usual situation. Most people he does the listening and he nods in assent and then he does the job. And so the more wine you give him and the more that he is starting to feel comfortable, he'll start talking about Hengist and how he's never seen Hengist stand in the shield wall. And he believes that Asbjorn is being sent here to get a victory under his belt, so that when he gets home, Asbjorn, he won that skirmish on the beach and he defeated those Iskloft Reavers and got all that money back, and he's a ring breaker and a gift giver and all the rest.
And I think I would just let him talk, and knowing that no one has listened, he's just spilling. He's spilling his guts, and I am letting him. And then slowly, as that sort of ends and tapers off, and maybe he has his own wine and starts to get a little tipsy, or starts rolling the knuckle bones, whatever, I would make my way around casually to Godalder, to Greta, to Carr, and in mixed, cryptic messages that are vaguely, unmasked, tell them everything, give them the entire scoop, top to bottom of what's going on and what we are to expect and why.
And after some time, you'll see Godalder and Einar is giving him this information, and Godalder nods, thinks about it, and continues at the base of this tree, shoving snow away and revealing that even in the winter, the harshness of winter, there's still life. He reveals the mushrooms underneath the snow and begins to use his fillet knife to cut each from the ground, and he smells them. And he takes maybe 3, 4, and then some small little caps out of the ground, and he puts them in his bag and satchel, and kind of looks around. Maybe he sees one of the men just kind of seeing him do it, and he holds up his hand, and he'll throw him one, toss him one, and walk back to the group.
And Einar would comment on this, you're not as big as Gunland. And then I would sort of have a knowing glance that clearly is hearkening back to something that actually happened. And I'd say, be sure they're not the dreaming mushrooms.
They're all dreaming mushrooms.
Another laugh in the same day. It is truly a good day.
And you see Godalder smile, a different sort of smile. Just he's realizing it too.
And I would see that as not the bloodthirsty smile that I'm used to. This comes from a different place that doesn't revel in the fields of battle.
there's a boy that would approach Yukar, and he would like sit next to you as you're like eating quietly. He's maybe 15, thereabouts, maybe 14. So he's young. He's got like a shaved head. And he would say, I've never been in the shield wall before, and I've never seen an Iskloft. I've heard they're huge and that they have sharp teeth, and well, I don't know, but am I going to die? Can you tell me?
The Iskloft are just men, boy. No bigger or more capable than any man. Him over there, I would point to Einar. He's a Iskloft. Does he not look like a man to you?
And he like looks at Einar, and though you might see like an older man, maybe past his prime, he sees a warlord in mail with like a helm and a blade, and to him that's glorious. And he would like look back at you like, that's an Iskloft?
Well, an Iskloft who used to be a Jarl, yes. But the fact remains, we are men fighting against men. There are things in this world that are not men. There are things in this world that are monsters. Be glad it is not this day that we fight monsters, boy. And pray to all the gods that you never have to in your lifetime. If you want me to cast the runes, I can. But you are young and have many years ahead of you.
His eyes like widen at the mention of monsters, and he'll like grab the little bone necklace of Mjolnir around his neck and like clutch it tight. And he's like trying to appear brave in front of you, though failing miserably. And his like arm is shaking as he holds the amulet. And he would say, I don't need to know the skeins of my fate. Have a pleasant meal. And he'll like stumble over himself as he tries to leave.
And I would say, wait, boy. I do not need to cast the runes, but I can offer you a small bit of protection, a blessing from the gods, if you wish it.
It's from the gods?
From the gods themselves, boy. Yes.
My father said that he once saw a witch in the woods, and that she gave him a blessing of the gods, and that's why all of us grew up strong.
It is possible. The gods work their will through us in myriad, mysterious ways. I've seen great things happen because of magic. I live because of those same blessings. And I would reach down into maybe the camping fire that I'm near, and I would reach to the sort of the outskirts of that fire, and I would get some soot on my thumb, and I would pull his hand towards me, and on his hand I would draw whatever rune would denote like protection or luck. Maybe I'll draw the which one is luck? I thought I took it. Maybe I didn't.
Fehu is fortune.
Okay.
And also wealth. Algiz is protection.
I would go ahead and draw Algiz then, not doing any magic, but just drawing the rune on him, and I would hold his hand tight for a second, and then just say, "Trust in this rune, but more than that, boy, trust in your sword arm, trust in your shield, trust in your spear, and trust in the man beside you. You will live to see another day if you do that."
He like nods slowly, understanding. And he'll like rise then, more confident, and return like to some of his friends, and he'll like talk excitedly and like show them the rune, like, I'm gonna live forever. Because he's got this magical rune now.
He like goes and jumps off a cliff to test it. I'm just like, no.
So you'll sleep here in the shelter of the trees, with watches being set. None of you are asked to watch. your honored guests, and it's beyond you to have to do such menial work. And morning will come. You'll continue then along the route led by Asbjorn, though really led by Wiglaf, until just about mid-afternoon. You'll come to this like crest of a hill, and you'll see a cove below with like a longship there, and you can see that the Skulfin Reavers are just sitting around. Like lots of them are eating. You can see that there's like on the ship several of them. And they don't seem concerned or worried. They don't see you. You're still quite a bit away. But you recognize one of them, Einar. You recognize a man called Skander. Skander Bloodmouth, he's known. You can see that he is like just in his casual clothes, and he's like sitting, and he's got this like sharp knife, and he's like carving something wooden. But you recognize him immediately. He's got this like shocking like red hair. Yeah, and he's carving away. And you then realize that this is a Reaven crew of some repute.
Do I know him well enough to approach him, or do I know of him?
I think you know him personally. He might have served you, or he might have fought against you. But yes, you would know him. You would have met him at least once.
I think I want to say both of those things have happened. And I don't know what order, but it doesn't even have to have only been those two times. Maybe the sides have switched many times over the years as he has taken the silver. And so I would approach him with a level of respect, but more edging on the side of just mustering every bit I have to look as powerful as I can. I want to appear as the Jarl he knew, not the Jarl that I am.
As you like go to move forward, Asbjorn on his horse. Halt! Where are you going? They're down there. We should attack. We should run and attack. And you're like 500 feet away at this stage. That would, as a commander, just exhaust everybody, and there would be nothing left by the time that you got there. But Asbjorn seems like keen now to get involved in the fight. He's like looking around excitedly at the rest of them, and he'll like say, "Make ready, make ready."
And I would, at this point, I'm sort of making my way down, and it's a stumble in the snow and in the rocks beneath. And I would wave my hand, making a mild, almost imperceptible gesture in the sky. Just sort of like it would look as though it was dismissive in a way, but this is a symbol that I'm giving to Carr to stop Asbjorn. And this is a symbol that we know. We know this, and so I sort of... And it is though I'm waving like, oh, just a minute, Asbjorn, but really Carr would know, stop this pup. And I would continue to walk, as like I said, I'm sort of stumbling, and I don't know what the custom would be for me to approach, but I would want to do so, as I said before, but mostly making sure that my weapon was away. It was maybe even slung behind me as a gesture. I wouldn't put my hands behind my back to show weakness, anything like that, but I would definitely be showing them respect, that I just want to speak, and I would continue to walk.
Sure. Yep. That's a good instinct. So you can like put your hands wide as well to show that you're not like armed, and like approach, make yourself look big. It's like a primal thing, but it works. And you'll see that he'll like look up, and he'll like do like a double take. Like turn his head to the side like he doesn't believe that it's really you, and then we'll like throw the little wooden thing he has like into the sand of the beach, and he'll stand and like start walking towards you. You'll see that several of his men will like stand up as well, but they won't approach. He'll approach you on his own.
And I think I would take off my helm at this point and hold it in my left arm under, and I think I would probably playfully insult him. I'd say, Bloodmouth, you're looking rather old. Getting in front of it.
I know. Fucking I know.
Would I know him well enough to do a one-arm clasp sort of lean-in hug, or like what's the situation there?
I think so. There's like a tendency where like your enemies are also kind of your friends. Like if you know somebody long enough, even if you fought against each other, there's still like a warrior sort of camaraderie there.
Dude, yes. And so that's what I do. I sort of clasp and I sort of lean in, and I'm doing that thing where I grip a little harder just for that moment. I couldn't keep it long, but I grip harder. I tense my arm in the, as he puts his on mine, I want him to feel iron cables, not the weathered muscles of an old man, and sort of lean in. And I'm just thinking, I hope Greta's paying attention, because if he tries to kill me, she's my only hope.
He'll smile and he'll say, I know, fucking skip skeg. They live and breathe, I don't believe it. Thought you'd have died by now, you old bastard.
Oh, I have. 2 or 3 times, I think. Odin shits me right back out.
Oh, yeah. I see. Would be you that doesn't make it to the corpse hall. Listen, what are you doing here? Fighting for farmers now? He looks up onto the ridge.
We don't fight farmers. Just like you don't reave for farmers. We fight for gold. We reave for silver. What do you say? We can come to peaceful terms?
It really depends what the terms are. To be honest, and he leans in, we're making a fucking killing out here. The Jarls are weak. Why don't you walk over here and bring, what's the fucking madman called? The Gunlander. Bring him over here, and you can stand on our side. We'll kill these farmers. We'll go back to Trafljot, and we'll take all the silver.
This is not a bad proposition. So, Lloyd, my question would be, how incredibly dishonorable would it be to do that as far as the repercussions? Meaning, I get that it's dishonorable, but, what's the play there?
Yeah, so it's you've made an agreement with the Jarl. Like the spit shake is basically a verbal contract, which is like an oath of some kind, Now, I mean, this is the crux of the problem, is that, like, pragmatically, it's way smarter for you to side with this reaving crew and take all the silver. But you've made an agreement with the Jarl, so that's there's no correct answer here,
And I think this isn't so much something that Greta would know, but maybe something that Einar would realize, is that to some degree, I feel like we could uphold our deal if we could get him to maybe not raid them, but we could still join them. And maybe that's not something he'd be interested in. Maybe he won't hold his side of the deal up. But I feel like a Viking could sleep well knowing that he tried. If he said, hey, listen, I've got to deal with this guy. Let these farmers go. Let's go raid someone.
I have to say it. Matt in the chat put, Tim's like, am I going to have to reload my game when this decision goes south? I'm like, hold on, let me click on that. Let me click on that fire real quick.
You're like mashing quick save.
Yeah, I was just going to say, dude's sitting control Q. He's just like, this might be bad.
And then you do it so instinctively that you do it when, like, this gargoyle jumps on your back. And you're like, no!
Yeah.
Did you spend the rest of the night trying to run? But so, oh man, this is a really tough decision. So what I want to do is talk it through with my team, but I don't want to show so much weakness that I lose the ability to barter and so on. And so what could I do to kind of work around that?
Okay, so like you are currently in a sort of alliance situation, is how you could say it. Like you're working with them, so you need to clear it or like talk to at least Asbjorn, because he's nominally in charge of this operation.
Perfect. And I would absolutely do that. And then I would slowly make my way back up. And I would probably beeline it to Carr, who's, I'm guessing, dealing with Asbjorn at this point.
Yeah, in the meantime, as you like went down there, you would see Asbjorn on his horse, which is like pawing at the ground, and he would have shouted at the like peasant spearmen to get ready, and you see all of them like physically shaking as they like start to like strap on their shields, and like you can see them like pulling the shields tight and like holding the spears like white knuckle, and they like look at him and they look at the rest of you, and they see that like the berserker and the shield maiden are not getting ready, and they're like, are we going alone? Like they're terrified. So yeah, and Asbjorn is like, we must go quickly.
And I would sort of, I wouldn't put myself in between Asbjorn and Einar, but I would sort of come up beside him, leaning on my staff, and I would say, Einar is a practiced tactician and battle commander. This is how these things go. He's acting as a representative on your behalf, and, well, being honest, it would not be safe for you to go up in his stead. These negotiations can often go south. Einar is putting himself in harm's way in your place as a show of respect.
We shouldn't be negotiating with these scum. We should just kill them.
That is likely what is going to happen, but at the outset of battle... Well, do you know what would happen if we charged across this field towards those Iskloft? By the time we reached them, we'd be so tired they would just flick us right off the map. So for now, we sit tight, wait to see how this plays out. And don't worry, there will likely be bloodshed by the time the sun sets, probably more than you're comfortable with.
And Greta, having maybe come from the other side, seeing this, everyone convening, keeping her eye on Einar, after Carr says that, she would say something, after the, do you know what would happen if we ran across this field? Greta would say something like, and even the freshest, even these men at their freshest, not 2 days travel out in the cold, whatever, still likely wouldn't have a chance. Almost under her breath a little bit, but kind of like, you can't expect this to go well.
Yeah, he looks between the two of you and then looks down at Wiglaf, and Wiglaf does like a, yeah, they're right. And he like bristles in his saddle, but doesn't make any more commands. You can see as you leave, Einar, that Skander has made his way back to his own men, and he's like done like a sort of wolf whistle, like a, and you can see a bunch of them like standing and like putting on mail or like strapping weapons on or shields just in case.
And so if we sort of walk away from Asbjorn, kind of the four of us, if we get together, battle, combat and everything is very honorable, and it's, as much as these peasants probably don't want to die, Greta would likely not have any problem with them fighting, right? So it's the kind of thing where she would explain to Carr, like, hey, we can be on either side of this thing, but they're gonna fight at some point. And, Greta's thing is she wants to fight and likely doesn't want to die. As valiant as that would be, she wants to be on the right side of this thing. So she would kind of be putting that in his ear, like, hey, if you know that guy, it's very clear which side is the right side to be on, especially because we might be the ones that sway that side one way or the other. But kind of mostly stressing, hey, a lot of people are going to die when this fight happens, not if.
And I think, at this point, Einar would very likely, as he hears Carr sort of calming down, all of the peasants, but really holding back Asbjorn from making a foolish decision, I would give a knowing glance directly to Godalder, but I would walk straight toward Greta, and I would basically explain everything to her, and then ask her to size up the fight. And as you kind of detail this stuff to me, I'm like, who do you think the strongest one is, and could we win this if we needed to win this right now?
So with that said, Lloyd, how many people are we talking on the other side? We've got our 30 barely, barely strapped people.
Yeah, you have 30 like peasant warriors. I mean, they're like, so peasant is like being unkind to them. They still live in Iskloft, right? So they're still like functionally decent warriors. Like they know how to use an axe, they know how to stand on a shield wall. So you have 30 of those. You've got 10 of the Jarl's household warriors, and you've got yourself. The Iskloftinn, there's maybe 30 of them, so you outnumber them by about 20 ish. But you think that everyone on the Iskloftinn side is like a reaver, like a pirate, expert sailor, and like probably fights for a living.
And so Greta would kind of lay that out to him, like, hey, listen, exactly what you said. And she would say, our deal with the Jarl aside, I would want to be on that side, and would point over to the Reavers. And then, kind of she would maybe submit like, well, I understand that you made a deal with him, and if we can come to something, that's fine. But if not, kind of, she would maybe subtly or lightly kind of say, you're not going to get any more disgraced. Like if you're going to live another day and, have the same status, maybe that's not so bad.
I think I would have a knowing smile, like as you sort of, and I think at that point, Greta would probably say it plainly after some very clear facts, sizing things up, etc. You'd basically just say something like you did, like, could you face any more disgrace?
Exactly. Yeah. Is it worth dying to not be, slightly more disgraced?
So I will say that it's not necessarily slightly more, because your word is like super important. It's like when you don't have money like you do, the one thing you do have is your word and your oath, and so if you were to break that, like oath breaking is up there with like straight up murder in terms of crimes or like things that will get you disgraced. So like while you are like you're no longer the great Jarl you used to be, I don't think you're necessarily an oath breaker at this stage yet.
Sure.
So it is something to think about. Like it's very important in Iskloft, the quality of your word.
Okay, yeah. So based on that, knowing that, I guess in that case, Greta would be a little less cavalier about let's just turn around and kill them. But again, would maybe lean more on let's find a way to work this out. Okay, so maybe culturally, think about this. You mentioned this. If we fought on this side, I forgot his name, but the main Reaver, he would understand why we would have to be. And it's the kind of thing where it's not necessarily a fight to the last man. So in the same respect, maybe that's what Greta would explain then. Like, hey, well, we're on this side of this, and that's what we're doing. So let's get it over with. Again, there's going to be bloodshed. So let's do it and shake hands afterward if we live to tell the tale.
And Carr would listen to the discussion going back and forth between Greta and Einar, and then he would sort of clear his throat and say, I owe these people a great debt, a debt that can never be repaid. I will not break oaths and fight on the other side against them. Please understand, Einar, that if you and Greta and Alder, if you fight with the Iskloftinn, you will be fighting against me as well.
And that's just no fun, he says, as he kind of takes off his tunic, revealing just broad chest, photoshopped abs, and he's got this scar on his shoulder that is fresh, almost like freshly cut. It's a very strange looking scar, almost like a spider web, maybe a puncture wound, but he begins hitting it and like rhythmically and begins pacing around. He reaches in his satchel and begins pulling out supplies as he begins preparations.
And I guess to be clear, I think it's important to note that I sort of retconned what I said. Greta likely would have made mention of the possibility of turning on them, but Moore would kind of be ready for battle and say, if we're going to do this, let's do it. Because she's confident in her own abilities, even if she knows that most of these peasants are likely to perish.
And I think taking all this in, and I think that Einar would, he's just throwing ideas out there at this point where it's not something that he has the face, like you said, the face of an oathbreaker. And I think everyone would know him well enough that it was just like, hey, what do you think? Just as a passing. And then when everyone's responses are what they are, he remembers himself and feels weak, really, for even considering it as an option. And so then I turn to these three who are essentially all that I have as far as feeling as though I'm a Jarl. You know, what do I have? The boy and his goat who reveres me? Do I have the petrified boy with the rune etched on him who'll probably soil himself on the shield wall? You know, no, I have these three warriors. And so I think my fear would be for them, because I don't want them to die under the stupidity of Asbjorn if they don't have to die today. Because dying an honorable death is one thing, dying a stupid death is another. And so I feel that what I would do is I would have to make the hard decision that a Jarl would have to make. The decision of what is the way to get through this with the least amount of bloodshed and still be honorable. And so just customarily, Lloyd, let me ask you, what would be a way to do that? Would it be, okay, we have to go into battle, draw blood, take gold back? Essentially, like, what would be, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so you agreed to do that, to come here and kill the Iskloft and take the silver back. That's like what the bargain is, the deal is. So if you don't do that, you know, there's problems there, because you said you would, and like we talked about, like, your word is your bond.
Gotcha. So we did say we'd kill him.
Well, you said you take the silver back. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Because that's what I guess I'm kind of. You see where I'm going with this?
I see. Yeah.
And I think I would probably turn to Carr. Because I know, listen, I know that all day Godalder's axe is sure. I know that Greta's able to hack down. Like, this would be a fair fight, but I'm looking at Carr because we're both on borrowed time. And I'm not looking at Carr as the person who knows how I die, but I'm looking at Carr as this could be the day that you die. And I'm no soothsayer, but their steel is true. And I'm kind of looking at him like, all right, what are we going to do here?
And the other thing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lloyd, but the idea is, like, these people were sent knowing full well what they were going to do. As much as they may not like it, they know that, like, that's the deal. Like, okay, sometimes you strap on the shield and you go out and you hope you're not one of the peasants that dies, you know?
Yep. Also, the Jarl can't order anyone to do anything unless they've sworn an oath to him. So, like, only the Huskarls are here because they're told to be here. The others, like, volunteer, because the Jarl is on the same social level as everyone else, like, by the law or whatever, you know. So, like, those farmers, although they are here and they look nervous, they chose to be here.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring up that the normal thing that happens here is we fight. There's very few options like, oh, we'll wait until they go to sleep. Like, well, that's dishonorable too. Or, oh, we'll just go back home. Or it's like, well, okay, we're deciding which side of the fight we're on. And obviously it'd be great if you could find a way to solve it without a fight. But there's going to be a fight. You know what I mean? So if we came up with a great way that everybody'd be happy, the Iskloft would use that to kill us, you know?
Sure. And that's fair. That's a fair point. And I think, again, looking around, I take the sword from behind my back and I sort of shift it forward. I put my helm back on just to make it clear that I'm ready. and that I'm not avoiding a fight. And then I think I'll make it plain. I'll just say, probably addressing it specifically to Carr. Do we fight then? No. Is there another way?
If we had more time, I could ask the gods. But the Iskloft will not wait for us to make a decision. Drawing steel has always served us well in the past, Einar. I do not see any reason why today should be any different, unless it is that day.
You know, doesn't feel like that day. And I sort of roll my shoulders back and I give the symbol to, it's just like the, hey, you know, I give the symbol to Bloodmouth. I basically hold my sword up like, now we're going to do this. Yeah, it's on. We're good. We're going to.
He'll see it and he'll be standing like slightly ahead of his men. He'll turn around and he'll like shout something. Actually, you understand Norse, which is the language they speak. He basically says swinehead, and he stands at the front. He gets his shield ready, and they form up a triangle behind him, all like crushing close together.
And I would describe this, the word and the formation, which is probably not uncommon. So they would probably know, but I would just call it out like, oh, okay, swinehead. What are we going to do? And I think specifically now I would draw steel. I would steady my feet and I would look to the warriors of the group, all of them. So I'm looking for, what is Godalder doing? What is Greta doing? What is Wigloff doing? You know, how are we going to do this?
And so Greta would look to Asbjorn briefly. If it took him more than a second to start saying or doing anything, she would immediately start barking orders to the peasants and the housecarls.
So given the opportunity, he'll like look around and he'll shout shield wall, and he'll like get down off his horse, because you don't fight in a horse. That's ridiculous. So he'll get down and like take a shield and like strap it on, and like he looks the part of a warlord, and he'll go and stand in the front line, which is what he has to do. Although you're at the top of the hill, so that's probably where you want to remain, but it's up to you. They're quite far away.
Yeah, and so seeing that he is ready, I was making sure he wasn't that guy in the movie that goes behind and watches from his horse. I would stand behind the shield wall with the throwing spear ready and do the same, look to Carr and Einar and everyone, and get ready for this fight.
So you do so. You like begin to crush together at the call of shield wall. There's no space. Like your shoulders are crushed in, and you can just like smell everyone around you, like their breath, the sweat. Immediately, like as the shields come over you, there's no air. But you can see like down on the beach, the Iskloft who like start to move forward. They're walking rather than running, and you can see that at like the click of Skander, these two thralls like pull a goat from the longship like poof, onto the sand, and are like dragging it across the sand towards Skander. He like grabs it by the horn and he hacks down into its neck, and his men are like cheering like and he will like cleave open its chest and pull out a heart and chew as like blood pours down his beard, which is where he gets his name, and he will like roar out Odin, and his men will do the same, and they'll approach to be about 50 feet away from you, at which point he will begin chanting, and we're going to take a very quick break there to go to the little girl's room, and then we're going to do this shield wall fight. I'll be back in a sec.
So thanks everyone for watching. As far as Iskloft, it is kickstarting right now, so you can still back Iskloft. There's a link in the description of this video. I highly recommend that you check it out. Go look at the Kickstarter page. Everything that you're seeing here is thematically laid out in the book. We're playing specifically Iskloft classes. All of the various sort of historical but also fantastical elements are written in there. Easy, clean. It's a very awesome book. I've seen pieces of it. The character sheet looks amazing. But more, I know Lloyd. I know Lloyd's games. And I highly recommend that you get and back this book because you can run Iskloft at your table. He strikes a perfect balance between what's historically important for a tabletop game. And I think that that's key. It's not a history book and it's not boring. It's the details that you need that are tied to characters and people. And so I highly recommend that you go back the book right now. You still got a little bit of time. And yeah, I'll be right back.
All right. First back. Give me some water. Hope everyone's doing well in the chat. I think Tim just mentioned that Iskloft is kickstarting right now, so you guys should go back it. I love Norse mythology, and I love kind of role playing, or the idea of role playing in a world that is centered around that. But I really never found that until I met Lloyd, the Jarl DM. And I fully trust this dude to create that sort of setting flawlessly. And so I personally am a backer of this Kickstarter. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, and so I've already backed it. And this is actually my first, I have watched so many Iskloft games, like just hours and hours and hours of Iskloft games, but I've never been able to play in this setting. And just playing in the setting and also seeing the classes and the cultures and the backgrounds and stuff like has made me even more excited. Like my background is disfigured. Like that's my background. My background is that I'm ugly and that I have had some sort of traumatic experience where I'm just scarred or sick or something. And I love flavorful stuff like that. Like it reminds me a lot of the Adventures in Middle-earth stuff where it's like just very thematic, like flavorful stuff that uses the 5e mechanics, but just kind of like points them in a very specific direction. And I'm really, really enjoying it.
I think this is my second game, and it's going to get real gross good. I think this is my second game in Iskloft. I can't recall second or third. There was one. I know that I've freaking frozen my character's ass off at some point, Lloyd. Like, and I know it happened here.
Yeah, and Taylor, Mom's the Nerd in the chat is asking how have I never played an Iskloft before, and I honestly don't know because I've played in so many Lloyd games, but I've like missed playing in an Iskloft game. So this is great.
Lloyd, it was the Boast Toast.
Yes.
Right? That was.
Oh, I was watching. I was watching.
That was Fate of the Norns.
Oh, that was Fate of the Norns. It happened in Iskloft. Whatever.
Yeah.
I forgot about that Fate of the Norns game you guys played.
Fate of the Norns is like the coolest idea maybe for a game. And then you really get into the nitty gritty and it's like, man, this is nitty and gritty all at the same time.
Fate of the Norns is like, have you guys ever had a video game that you like love the concept of and you keep trying to play it and you're just waiting for it to grab you and it just never does? And you're like, I wish I liked this game more because I love it conceptually.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel for Fate of the Norns the way I feel about Adobe InDesign where I'm looking at it and I'm like, if only I knew how it worked, it would be great. But it's got a brick wall of a learning.
And then there's like, and people are like, Adobe InDesign is great. It's so easy to use. And then you're like, how long have you been using it? And it's like, about 15 years. It's like, okay, yeah, that's why. Yeah.
That's why you get it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it is the best software for laying out text if you know how to use it. And if you don't, then it's a frustrating mess.
That's so much all of Adobe's products.
It really is. It really is.
They're the best, but you got to really invest in
Yeah.
learning them.
So
like
true, man.
Photoshop and InDesign, like, and even Illustrator to some extent, I'm like, okay, I get it. I know how this works, and like I can find my way around the software. But like, if I open Premiere, I'm just like, this is arcane. Like, I can't even decipher what this is. Like, I don't know why this video file is yellow and this one is green, and like I don't even understand what is even happening here.
And then to that point, After Effects is like the scene in Doctor Strange where he goes into the astral. You're just like, huh? There is no up or down in After Effects. It's just
I open it and I'm just like, I don't even know where to begin. Like, I don't even know how to imagine how to do a thing here. Like, it's just.
Well, that's like what's it called in Premiere? Like it's like is it just called project where you have to set up like the parameters of the project before you even import video into it?
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't know. Can I just drop a video in here? I want it to be Windows Movie Maker. Come on.
Yeah, and they're like, what's the aspect ratio? What's the frame rate? What? And you're like, whatever my camera's set to.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm reinstalling Windows Movie Maker then, because I can't make heads or tails of this.
For the 10th time. Every time.
Yeah.
This time I'm going to learn how to use Premiere Pro. Like, nope.
Not even a little bit.
I've watched the first 8 minutes of that Linda tutorial 100 times.
Yeah.
Then I check out and all of a sudden I realize that I'm on Reddit. Nothing more Viking, I think, than a Diet Canada Dry. Am I right?
I don't know, man. I might have you beat with this lime off-brand seltzer.
You super heavy. How did you make a diet ginger ale seem more manly?
If anyone could do it, it was me.
Yeah, I know. My off-brand lime seltzer. Oh, it's killer.
All right.
The guy who drinks off-brand lime seltzer is the guy who drinks ginger ale and goes, "Ooh, that's gingery. That's a little spicy for me."
It's too much. Spicy.
Ooh, that's gingery. My daughter calls anything carbonated spicy. I gave her some water sometime. Didn't realize it was from the soda tap. And she goes, "That's spicy." No, it's not. It's water. She's like, "Daddy, it's spicy." I'm like, "Let me see it." Oh, yep. That's on me.
Spicy water.
I gave her soda water.
All right. Ready for battle?
As we'll ever be.
So they approach and they stop about 50 feet from your shield wall, and you can like hear the like frantic breathing of the peasants around you. And you can hear them all kind of like muttering, "Thor, protect me. Odin, watch over me." As they just shake, like you can feel them shaking next to you as they like are in close contact with you as the shields overlap. And among the people of their shield wall, one of them walks forward and he begins to chant this strange language. You would actually speak it, Einar. You're the only one because it's Norse. Unless some of you speak that, but I think it's just the Iskloft.
I have a feature where I can sort of speak every language conversationally, so I might pick up a few words here or there.
Just, yeah. Yep. So he begins to chant, men, over and over again, this like rhythmic, and there's a guy like banging a drum as they like get themselves riled up. And you know this chant, Einar, it's a sort of scare the shit out of the bad guys chant. It is, "We're going to kill you. We're going to kill you a lot." And And so they're chanting that and getting ready, and you can see like the dudes are getting so terrified as they like look on at this like insane shield wall opposite them, and like the glittering steel of the Iskloft. You can hear like one of the that boy with the rune lets out a loud fart and like shits himself in front of you, or next to you rather, Car. And he's like holding onto the shield just like deathly tight, and you can hear people's like teeth chattering.
I would say I'm sort of muttering under my breath my own blessings and my own words, but as this guy next to me is shitting himself, and I just see the panic starting to set in in this line in this shield wall, I would raise my voice a bit and allow it to be heard at least by the people around me, and I would say, "Odin, far wanderer, traveler, grant us wisdom this day. Grant us courage and victory. Friend Thor, grant us strength. Both be with us this day, and if we should die, welcome us as old friends in your hall."
You see like some of the men are buoyed by that.
And I think that those words would ring in Einar's ears as familiar words. You know, this isn't the first time that Carr has said this, and it's not the first time that he's been right about it. But I think I'm next to Goodalder in the shield wall, as usual. You know, and it's almost like we've worn into each other's arms. You know, there's a notch in my arm where his fits, and perhaps I know. Perhaps we share the fact that Carr has read the runes over both of us and both of our deaths. And perhaps I know that Goodalder, it's been foretold that he would not die in battle. And perhaps I say otherwise. Goodalder, I don't think that Carr is always right. Maybe today's the day that we both die.
You see a smile cross Goodalder's face, and in that moment, the thumping of the chest continues, and he breaches the skin yet again, as usual, and blood is drawn onto his hand. He reaches down. He has no shield, and you know that he stands in the shield wall as more of a symbol. He'll back out pretty soon to finish his ritual, but he takes the blood and he smears it upon his face, and he takes his helmet with the image of Gunnar. I have forgotten Gunnar's surname, Lloyd. If you can help me out there. Yep. Gunnar's is really all right. Perfect.
Yeah,
So, what it is.
It's really it. Yep.
Really great. It's like he puts on this helmet and his face becomes Gunnar's. It's this beautiful, intricate helm that covers the blood on one side. You can see it through an eye hole, and you see Mjolnir dangling from his chest. And he looks to you, and he looks to the people around him, and he says, "Tonight, my friends, you will feast and you will fuck in Valhalla." And he jumps behind the line, and he grabs this big long axe, and he begins hitting with this long axe. He begins hitting his chest continually with it, and the blood begins draining out and just kind of spraying along his face, along his sides, and along the tattoos that he has on his forehead.
You can see Einar. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and Einar calls out to Greta, as he always does in the shield wall. I'm not sure where she's positioned, but it's not directly next to him. But he just sort of calls out, and it's a bit of a call and response, where Einar actually says something to the effect of, "Today is not the day we die," sort of like hollering for her to respond with something.
And her response to that, as always, is, "But it is a good one to die nonetheless."
That's awesome. And so he does it again, but this time, as he says it, he says, "Today is not the day to die." That second voice in his head says, "Yes, it is. You stupid old man. Today's the day you won't even make it to the fight. You'll die from a spear in the neck. You coward, you bastard. And yet, Greta's response rings in his ear, and he's not sure which voice to believe right now.
And I would say even hearing you say it, it's not just Greta that responds the second time. It's, maybe the few men around her as well. And some of the Housecarl guards all, respond as well.
You can hear like the insane screaming of the Iskloft who are like now standing, and you can see that they've like hyped themselves up, and you can just hear them like screaming this like insane battle roar, and like they're drumming on their shields and they're still chanting over and over again, in the house, as like it reaches this fever pitch.
As they draw closer and as battle is imminent, Carr sort of stands up a little straighter, and he always appears a lot older than he actually is because of his scarred, ruined visage and his graying hair, his patchy beard. But he stands up straight and tall, and he appears much younger, much stronger, and he sort of spins his spear and holds it out, and he speaks more words to Odin, and he's going to scribe the rune of Asgard on the tip of this weapon with soot from his thumb. And as he does this, I'm going to be using Einherjar's blade to basically make my weapon magical. It +1 attack and damage, extra d6 radiant damage, and it begins emitting bright light. And as I do this, I sort of raise it up above my head, and I scream, "Odin!" in a voice that is much more powerful than my voice is typically.
The Iskloft rush forward, and you can feel like their many footsteps as they rush up the hill towards you. And we're going to roll initiative.
Yes. Awesome. Rolling on these sick Iskloft character sheets, am I right?
Shout out to Taylor making that sheet.
Taylor made this. This is awesome. It's really good.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh yeah, man. It's just got everything you need. It's so cool. And I was actually quite surprised when I clicked and I was able to change something.
I just want to point out how cool it is to make games. Like,
Rad.
right, Lloyd, I'm playing in your world, and you have a character sheet with your world's name on it that belongs to a book you're kickstarting. Like, that is a cool life.
It's surreal.
Somebody said earlier, like, oh, it's really cool that these guys, you make games, and that's awesome, but it's also fun to see that they're just nerds that like playing them too. I was like, yeah, basically that exactly.
That's why you make them.
Yeah. We make what we use.
So they scream. You can hear them screaming, "Dear Odin!" And they're running forwards. And with this insane crash, they smash into your shield wall. And you can see at the front is Skander. And he like leaps over and immediately like lands and like splats the brains out of one of the peasant's skulls. And it like splats over your face, Carr. And there's just this immediate like push. Yeah, you're almost knocked off your feet. But first, Greta, you're the first to act.
It sounds like he was the first to act, but all right. No, but okay, so I want to kill him. I mean, I guess that's the answer. I
would imagine you're near the middle.
Yeah, like if he jumped over, So I'm gonna try to attack him. If I'm in the shield wall, I imagine I have my boar spear out and my shield, ready. Does that require I break the shield wall, or that like am I ruining something by turning around to try to kill him? Okay.
No, for the sake of we're in the shield wall, but mechanically you can kind of just like do whatever. It's just like an abstraction. Like you're in the shield wall, but really the fight's happening.
Okay, yeah, perfect. That makes perfect sense.
But I will say the boar spear is two-handed, So you can't use that.
Oh, okay. Then I'll have the war axe. I almost asked, like, boar spear is either really short spear or a really long spear. So yeah, then hand axe. So I will then, absolutely go after him with my war axe, which I have a great bonus to. I'm going to murder this guy. So that's a 23 total.
Yep, that'll hit.
And then, and I'm using it with one hand, so I imagine that's this first number here.
Yep.
I'm going to pick the best D8 to kill this guy with. Sorry, just 1 second.
Make it good.
So that's 10 total.
Okay. All right. Is that it for you?
Yeah, that's mostly it. I don't think there's anything else I can do. I'm still kind of in there, maybe sparring with him, but that's it.
Okay.
I was going to say it hasn't come up yet, but part of what I have as far as my class stuff, don't forget that these are passive effects. So one of them is if he's within 20 feet of me, the area is difficult terrain. And then anyone who's using a shield within 30 feet of me, who are adjacent, basically anyone in the shield wall, gain a +1 to AC as well.
Wow. Okay, so I did realize one other thing is I do have a shield fighting, which is basically if I hit, I get to punch with my shield too. If I'm reading that right. So I'm going to do that. I get just basically a 1d4. Oh, you can make an attack. So I get to make an attack there, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I hit that as well. It's a natural 19.
Yep.
And then I go ahead and do plus my strength modifier, 7 more damage.
Nice. So you slash out with the axe into his shoulder, and then poof, with the rim of the shield. And he like spins for a second, and you can see there's like a cut across his cheek. And then as you're like looking at him, you feel this like strike into your side. One of the men with him, very, very large, has this 2-handed axe, and he is going to try and strike at you while you're distracted. For a 20 to hit.
I think it barely makes it because I have an 18 plus a +1 from him. So yeah, it hits.
Okay, so just barely. Maybe gets over the rim of your shield and will... You'd think I'd have dice ready, right?
I was thinking the same thing. I've had these dice in front of me the whole time, and then I couldn't find them in a pile.
Yep. It's going to be 11 slashing. As like the axe comes over the shield and like hacks in, and then he's going to try and hit you with the butt end.
Oh boy.
With a definite hit, much higher. And that's going to be 5 for that one.
Awesome. Well, not so much, but you know.
Skander like lands and crushes the brain of that peasant. He like looks around the shield wall. He sees you, Einar, and he gives you a look, and then he turns away from you and is going to attack someone else. There's something there, some shred of camaraderie. He looks around for what he thinks the most dangerous thing is, and being a Sculfin, he thinks that must be the witch. And so he like zeroes in on Carr and is going to like push one of these peasants to the side, and he's going to unleash just a lot of pain. No, he's not. Does a 16 hit you?
A 16 does hit me. Yeah, I've got AC 15.
Okay,
Well, now he's within. I guess he only gets one more, but he's within him as well.
I don't have a shield.
I forgot I needed a shield. Sorry, there you go.
Yep. So he like winds his way through the melee, and he like takes his axe, and he's gonna like slash it across you once, and then he like goes for the second. You duck out of the way, and then he like grabs your collar and just smashes his helmeted face into yours. So wow, minimum damage. You will take 5 and 5, so 10 from both. He like barely sort of grazes you and then like smashes his helmet into your face and misses his third. That's going to be it for him. Carr, it's your turn.
Okay, I'm going to... I take a step back. There is blood just streaming from my face. He broke my nose with that smash from his helm, and there's blood seeping from the wound that he slashed with his axe. I'm going to take a quick step back and then thrust forward with my great spear. Which, thank God, I get to add my intelligence modifier instead of my strength here. So that's going to be a 17 to hit.
Okay, he is going to use a reaction to parry that bad boy.
Oh, man.
See if he manages it.
Iskloft is hard.
He does. So he like sees the spear thrust coming, and then he like takes both weapons and like pushes the spear to the side.
Okay. I don't think there's anything else I can do. Let me make sure I'm not missing a bonus action or anything here. Nope. Okay, so yeah, that's it. So I stab forward with my spear, and as he sort of parries it aside, I sort of kind of step back and ready it to block any attacks from him.
Okay, perfect. This like shitty little runt with like sort of greasy hair and like this rusted sayax and a shield is going to like wind his way through the shield wall. He's going to try and shank the berserker because he's a fool. Will a 15 hit you? Probably not.
Barely not.
Okay. So he like comes up and he sees you like banging your chest and like dancing around and getting into your berserker gang. And he tries to slash at you, but you're just effortlessly able to like bat him aside. He is nothing compared to you, and it is your turn.
His eyes almost never leave Skander, who is in front of Carr. His hand is covered in clotted blood, and he points to Skander with his axe after kind of shifting to the side and dodging the blow from this Reaver scum. He points over there and he says, "In oath to Tyr, god of justice, I will strike him down." And then he takes the axe and with both hands swings it at the Reaver in front of him and tries to kill him first. That's a natural 20 on my
Oh god.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think, has it been 10 minutes? Am I in full berserker gang?
Yes. Yep.
And then he's just wailing and screaming and spitting, and he pisses himself, but only to keep him warm for the battle. You know, like it's not even. This is part of it.
For sure.
This is part of it.
I should have rolled beforehand, but this is fine. This is fine.
So you double the dice for a crit.
Oh.
So I love so far as a player how many times, like how much dice rolling there is. The fact that guy parried, the fact that I basically get 2 attacks because I punch him with my shield. Like it seems so fast paced.
Yeah, because there's not so much magic. I put lots of effort into the nitty gritty of like the melee. Sorry, Parker, what was that?
Sorry, 17 damage.
17. Oh, good God. Okay. Can you roll me a D10, please?
It's called a murder dice. No, I'm kidding.
That's a 1.
Okay. Yeah. So he's dead. You can go ahead and tell me how from System Shock.
We are all fishers of lives. And he brings the axe down and he actually kills him with the blunt end, jamming it into his neck. And you just hear the snap and he falls down into a pool of his own filth. And then immediately he will make for his oath sworn. And he with axe ready.
See if you can push your way through the shield wall. Einar, you can see him coming and like moving towards Skander, but it's your turn.
So just mechanically, what was the D10 out of curiosity?
System shock. So when an enemy takes over half its hit points in one hit, there's a table. This is in the DMG. It's slightly modified for Iskloft, where just bad things happen if you take more than half your hit points in one go.
I've become intimately familiar with it in the Jade Horde game.
Oh, geez, yeah. Listen, Owlbear. Old Owlbear arm. So knowing that Greta can fend for herself and understanding that Godalder has probably saved my life twice in the last moment and I hadn't even seen it, I would definitely head toward Carr, who I see has a stream of blood from a crooked nose. And so ignoring that kind warrior's nod from Bloodmouth, I go. And so, you know, I want to test drive some of these killer mechanics here. So I am playing a Hearth, and which basically like I'm a warlord class. I'm a Jarl, and so I really wanted to play that. So I have these warlord dice. What, Lloyd, can I do to just do the most obliterating damage to this person, even if it means commanding someone else?
Yeah, so you have like a strike ability where you can like order one of your companions to make an attack. That's probably how you could do the most damage, because you yourself are not really a damage dealer. Other than that, you have like a couple of like guiding abilities, I think, like where you hit and then you allow an enemy to hit or an ally to hit. But I don't have your character sheet, so I'm not entirely sure what you can do.
Sure. No, perfect. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So what I'm going to do is I will do that where I have essentially, and perhaps I'm inspiring the boy, the one who was asking Carr if he was going to die on the shield wall. This doesn't change his fate, but it'll be useful while he's alive. And so perhaps I shout something to him that he would understand, you know, this, you know, I just holler at him and maybe even calling out to the rune specifically, you know, and I sort of smack where it is, sort of bring it to him, and the adrenaline and the blood and maybe even the smell of piss. It eggs him on, and I think that he stabs at Bloodmouth, probably surprising himself. And so, all right, so let's see here. Gains this here. I'm just looking to see how this works. So basically a command, right?
I think it's the order that you have. Like you order someone to do something.
Gotcha. Order strike as an action. Basically, yep. So now do you just handle all the rolls and I just use that as my action? Hey, here's the order.
Yeah, so usually you would make one of the other players do it. If you want this guy to do it, I'll definitely let you roll. So you can do that.
Killer. All right.
I'll say he has a +3 to hit.
Okay. Well, let's hope he's lucky. So that's a 16 all up.
So he tries to get near the warlord Skander, and he like stabs his spear with like everything he's got. And like for him, it's this like slow motion moment where he's like, "This is it. This is how I get to the corpse hall." And he like, and then Skander just like not even looking, like bats the spear to the side as he like smashes the brain of another peasant in the shield wall. As the boy looks on in horror, he misses, unfortunately.
And watching this happen, I think it's slow motion for me as well. And I'm just like, yeah, like, yes. But then watching it happen, that sort of, and then the din picks up and, you know, maybe even, you know, the boy gets pushed back, even just like batted away. And so I sort of start to run, and I'm not sure how a shield wall works, but I essentially don't want to break the whole formation so we die, but I want to sort of like keep my shield. And I'd probably elbow, you know, berserking. I don't even know if he would notice Good Alder, but I would just elbow him like, hey, I'm leaving, cover me, cover my spot in the shield wall. And I would run, and I'd use my move action to get between Carr and Skander Bloodmouth.
Yeah, so you can like push your way through, like past some of these people. There's like once the kind of shield walls meet and break, there's a bit more space, and you're able to like push your way between the two. That was Einar. Okay, so there's a man in the shield wall. He's got like a wolf pelt on, and he has this short blade and a shield. And he's like looking around, and he spots you, Einar, and he's like creeping through, and you can just barely make him out, and then he like leaps up and he's going to try and strike at you. For a 14 and a 19.
19 hits, 17 AC.
You will take 10 points of piercing damage as he shoves the sword into you, into your shoulder, and he like snarls like a wolf as you look at him.
Awesome.
Oddleaf is standing at the edge of the shield wall. You can see her. She's got this spear held aloft, and she's like watching the melee, and she like hefts it and throws towards you, Greta. For a 16, which I think will miss you.
Yeah, misses.
So into the shield. For a moment, you're able to like break it off, and then she like pulls out another and for a 15. So these two spears into your shield, and you can like take your axe and smash them off. She's trying to get you, but you are well aware. And we're back to the top, to you, Greta.
Okay, so I'm looking at my spear din ability, and I just want to make sure that I'm taking advantage of any opportunity attacks that I might have inside of here. In what cases would I have one? More like if somebody only like normal rules, basically?
Yes. The special thing about that is when someone stands up from prone, you get to make an opportunity attack, I think. If that's what Speared In is.
Yeah, it says that, as well as I guess if somebody disengaged with me, but we're kind of all fighting, so that's unlikely unless they run away or something.
Yeah, and like, I mean, there's definitely like lots of non-named people that you can be like hacking down, but like for the sake of, rather than me rolling 50 initiatives or whatever, I'm just going to like keep it to these characters, So if one of those people breaks combat with you, then you'll definitely get an opportunity attack.
Okay, yeah, great. So in that case, I'm going to go after Skander again.
Okay.
And same thing, basically, go at him with my axe, and then, in fact, I want to go at it with my axe, and then action surge, which I think I decide beforehand.
You can do it whenever.
Yes. Oh, okay. So basically, I'll probably do that, but I'll roll first.
I think you would have 2 attacks, right? Because you have a 5.
Oh, I do already get 2 attacks, don't I?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I forgot about that. Okay,
Come on, James, we need all those attacks, man.
We do. I rolled like 3 dice last time anyway. It must be. Okay, so the first one is a 17 to hit.
He's going to try and parry that.
Okay.
And he succeeds. So the first strike, he will like bat to the side with his knife.
Okay, and can we talk about parrying? Is that just a thing? Is that like an ability he has?
That's
is this
reaction? So it's once per round.
And
wait, he hasn't gone again. Never mind, he can't parry.
Oh, okay, I was only asking because I love that idea, because I love as a player the ability to roll to not get hit. So, but in that case, screw him. I hit him. The second is a 14 though to hit. And then I'm going to action surge to do a third one. Is that how it works?
2 more.
Oh, because oh my God. Okay. Yeah. I'm just wrecking this guy. So now 15 to hit.
That will also miss.
And then critical miss on the last one.
Oof, okay. So go ahead and give me the damage for the hit.
So just the one. Yep. Okay. So that is 9. And then I get my, do I still get my shield attack? I have so many attacks. Basically, if I make one successful attack, I can do that. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to use my bonus action to do that. And that one does hit. Should be a 17. I think that hits, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then that one. That one is... Okay, so I know I just keep adding things that I'm doing. But on that one, when it says when my damage die show their maximum value, which in this case, the D4 for my bonus action did... Oh, but I can't use another bonus action, so I can't use that. Okay. Yes. So that's 8. And what did I roll before?
9, right?
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I thought I did that, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, so a bunch of damage, but 1 critical miss.
Oh, yes, okay. So the critical miss, I'm not going to do anything with it. So it's just the chaos of the shield wall. Maybe you lose grip on your axe for a second, but it like thunks into a shield and you just like pull it back out. Or like grab a weapon off the floor, something like that. Okay, that was Greta's turn. That was a lot of attacks. That was impressive. Okay, Thorgeir with a big axe. He sees that his lord is in trouble. He's going to move over there and he's going to try and separate your head from your shoulders, Greta. Okay, the first one's an 11. The second one's a crit. So that's bad news.
That is.
We get to look at some crit tables.
It barely hits me.
That's
Yeah.
something.
In Iskloft, crits are like you lose a face.
Yes, the entire face. It's going to be 19 points of slashing damage. And then I need you to roll me a d12 and a d20, please.
Oh, boy. Okay. It was nice knowing you, folks. So the d20 is a 4, and the d12 is a 6.
That's your left arm.
Oh, God. And sorry, how much damage did you say it was?
19.
19. Oh, boy.
Okay, so he slashes with the axe, and you like bring up your shield to block, and it like cuts through and into your forearm, slices it open. You can see like exposed red, twitching, glistening layers of muscle. You like drop the shield, and I need you to make me a wisdom saving throw, please.
Okay. 17.
Okay, so you managed to like not lose it and just like stare in horror at the wound as you can see your muscles moving as you like look at the gore. You drop the shield, but you still have your axe, and that's it for that. That was Thorgeir. Okay, Skander is going to turn and look at you now, Einar, and he like turns his head to the side and shrugs, and he's going to attack. His lowest is a 14, which I guess misses. Does a 15 hit?
No, actually.
Okay, so he'll just hit you once with a 21.
Okay, that certainly hits.
Yes, that's going to be 9 bludgeoning damage. So he slashes twice with his axe, and then he like takes the blunt end of his sayax and he's going to like smash it into your chin, and you'll like feel some tooth as you spit it out. That was Skander. Car.
Okay. Trying to decide if I want to attack or if I want to try and heal somebody. I want to attack. I want to get an attack in with this freaking great spear here. So is Skander still within attack range of me, even though he's sort of focused his attention on Einar?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to try and spear him in the side here. I sort of come up on his left flank. Oh, there we go. That's a 19 on the die.
Oh, yeah.
25 total. No, 24 total.
Double hit.
Okay, cool. So let me roll my damage first. It's going to be a D10 and then an additional +6 radiant. So 7, 10. So 14 damage. And then he needs to make a strength saving throw, the DC of which is 14.
He fails.
Awesome. Okay, I'm so happy. So I come forward with this spear and I sort of come up high, and rather than doing a stabbing attack, I'm sort of slashing down with it. And as I hew through the mail that he's wearing and cut a red line down his side, there's this explosion of white light that emits from the tip of this spear as the power of Odin surges into this guy. He is thrown back 15 feet and knocked prone as I use my Einherjar's blade.
So maybe there's like the call of a raven as it hits, and there's like a subsonic woof, and he just like flies back into his own shield wall and like smashes into a bunch of them.
And I do a cool like spinny move with my spear and then hold it out like low, ready to attack him again if I need to.
There's like shouts of joy from your side, Odin! And from their side, shouts of fear. Okay, Reaver Scum is dead. Godalder, it is your turn.
Awesome. Anything special happen while I encountered the issues? I was last heading towards Scander, which I believe just got knocked back. So,
Yes.
And that is near the middle of the shield wall, correct?
Yep.
Okay, great. Godalder buries his axe in the snow, in the earth, and he picks up his shield off the ground where he had placed it and his sword, and he moves to join the shield wall. He's breathing heavily, drool running down his face. He's in pain, but it's great pain. And he jumps next to probably next to Einar, where where you had mentioned before that he had a position, or we had been positioned next to each other. So he jumps in wherever he could be to complete this oath to Odin. And with his sword, I don't think he's in reach of Scander right now, since Scander was just knocked back, but he's going to rejoin the shield wall and prepare with his sword to lash out and stab at Scander.
There is Ingvar is standing next to Einar, and you can see he's like stabbed him in the shoulder. If you wanted to attack now, or you can wait.
I'm going to attack now. I'm Berserker Gang. Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
I swear that's another natural 20. I swear that's another natural 20. But this time it's only the sword. Odin!
Barker, if there's anybody that would take exactly what the dice says every single time, it's you.
Yes.
And if there's anyone that would see a 20 on a die and say, you know what, I think that shouldn't be a 20, it's Tim.
No.
No, I think I rolled a 10 that turn, really.
So
you guys
12.
are not good for Iskloft.
Do it again, double dice. 19 damage.
Oh, damn. Okay, and then I need from you a D12 and a D20, please.
$12 on the D12 and 2 on the D20.
Okay, I'm just looking through the table here. There are many, many brutal crit tables. Okay, here we go. Okay, a 2 you said?
Yeah, 2 on the D20.
Okay, so you like slash across his face. There's like this deep sort of cut that runs, and he like staggers back, and he's like trying to hold on to like this flap of skin that's falling off his cheek. He has disadvantage on attacks until the end of his next turn.
Rad.
Okay, so that was Godalder. Einar.
So seeing that Carr does not need my help. Clearly. In fact, it's arguable that he saved me. I would scan the battlefield. And so who is the closest enemy that looks the most deadly at this point?
So between you and Godalder is this Ingvar, not Ganger. He's got the wolf pelt on. He is definitely like a sword-skilled warrior.
And I would see this, and he's the one that, you know, he took a couple shots at me and just stabbed me as well. So I would sort of look to him, and I would square off. And I have an ability. It's one of my features and traits for my background. You call these warriors, is what it's called. Basically, I can guess the ability of a warrior that I see and get a good gauge of their skill relative to mine. Where are we at?
In the fight in general?
Just
like
meaning, sorry, literally like, how are we matched skill-wise based on what I can see from that ability?
Yes. So you think if it was you and him on your own, he would kill you because you are old and you are slow. So you think that if it was just him and you, that he would take you. But it's not just him and you. It's a shield wall, and that's where you thrive, with like soldiers at your back. So yeah, you think he's like quite capable.
I love that. Okay. And I have no shame in that. You know, he has his ways, I have mine. But living is really the goal. and fighting gloriously, and I can fight gloriously from within a shield wall. So what I'm going to do, I get some warlord dice, which is really cool. So these are d8s that I can use to do various things. And one of the things that I want to do is to, it's actually apt. It's called the Wolfpack Strike. I make an attack, and then I get to add one of these d8s to damage. And then the next ally to attack that target has advantage. And so that's what I would like to do if possible.
Perfect. Go for it.
Killer. Oh, cool. So 17 on the die. Okay, so that's 23 all up.
Yep, definitely.
All right. And then I've got... Yes. Okay, so... And... All right, killer. That is 13 damage.
Nice. Okay, so you strike at him and you leave him like wide open as he like pulls back, and the next attack against him will have advantage. He's still standing though, barely. It looks like
excellent,
wide open for an ally to kill.
Yeah, and I think I would love it if it was a feign. I would love it if my age and wisdom got him to sort of strike too soon. And so he did. He took the bait, and I looked like I had a weak point in the shield wall, but that's just no. And so then I raise the shield, deflect, stab him, and now he's reeling backward as this old man has bested him.
Yeah, he's enraged by that. He like feels the sting of the insult that this old man would best him, and he's going to strike at you now. See if he can do anything, but he has disadvantage because of the crit that Godalder did. He misses his first strike, swings wildly, but is nowhere near you, and the second. So he's just like madly like, but you are like experienced and pragmatic, and you're just weathering it under the shield. Okay, Oddleaf is going to pick up her final spear. She's going to try and throw it at Greta's face, and will maybe do so with a 19.
Yes, absolutely. My AC is nothing now.
That's going to be 9 points of piercing damage as the spear saves.
Grief. I love how casual the descriptions are in Iskloft. Okay, and then she's going to take her last hand axe and bury it into what was once the rune of her face. It's so perfect.
So it will sail and will catch you maybe in the meat of your shoulder and spin you around a little bit. She will then pull a hatchet and strap on a shield, and will make her way into the shield wall. Okay, that was Oddleaf. Back to you, Greta.
Okay, so I want to do a bunch of stuff here, and so you'll need to help me to make sure. So the most important thing is I want to get another shield, and I think via the rules, sometimes if there's one available, I can just scoop it up. Is that the case?
Yes.
Because what I want to do is I want to grab the shield. I want to use second wind, so I get my 1d10 plus 5. So I'm going to use a bonus action for my second wind, or I'm gonna die. Okay, so and I get 13 back, which, listen, at this point it's something. Mm-hmm. And then now that I have a shield again, I was going to take the dodge action, but screw that. Why would I ever waste my time? Okay, so in that case, I want to attack. What's his name? Sorry, I'm writing my hit point then while I try to remember people's names. I want to kill Skander.
So he's been knocked back 15 feet away from where you guys are standing.
Oh, God.
Yep. But
I floored his ass.
Yeah. But Thorgeir and Ingvar are both around, and if you attack
Ingvar, I get the
advantage. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna wreck Ingvar because I get 2 attacks and a punch him with my shield if I hit. So I'm gonna do that. So 20, I think, hits him. Not natural, and then a second 20. So 2 attacks there. And then my d8s. 8. So 16 damage, and then I know that might kill him, but I'm gonna do my shield attack as well, because why wouldn't I?
It will kill him, so you can use your shield attack on somebody else if you wish.
Oh yeah, actually, that's great. I just wanted to use it because it was cool, but absolutely, if I can just turn and punch somebody else with it.
Yeah.
But
So there's also Thorgeir like next to you. So you like hack out with the axe twice. And I think he's like opened up, and you can like slash in under the rib cage and then at the throat, and he just like falls into the dirt. He like looks up at you, Einar, in his last moments as you see him like grip his blade tightly so he can go to the corpse hole. And yes, then you can smash Thorgeir with your shield.
Yeah, so then I got a 17 to hit with that, and then I do the if that hits, I have to see plus strength 8 damage.
Nice.
Oh, nope, still, yep. Sorry, there we go. I keep remembering other stuff. Yeah, so 8 damage on him.
Okay, yep, no problem. So you hack down Ingvar, and then you like hit Thorgeir in the side with the like rim of your shield, and you hear him like become winded. That was Greta. Thorgeir is going to turn and try and chop you in half. His first attack will miss, and his second will also miss. So the smash of the shield in the side, he's like trying to get the big axe on you, but there's no room in the shield wall, and every time he does, somebody bumps into him. He's not able to get a good strike. Skander is going to rise from where he is, look around for where he is, and he's going to run back towards where the fight is, and is going to he's going to go for you, Einar. He thought this would be easy, and he realized it's not, and now he thinks he's got to cut the head off the snake, so he's going to run for you. That's a motherfucking natural 20. And a 14. 14 misses, I think. But the natural 20 is going to be real grim.
Are we sure? I mean...
Could I get a recount on those rolls?
Car, if you don't mind, can you just weigh in here? No.
It's going to be 14 damage.
Oh.
And then I need from you a D12 and a D20, please.
Okay. Hey, who dares me to use the Atcon D20? Okay, so that's a 10 on the D12 and a 15 on the D20. Oh. The Jarl just made a painful groan. Before you kill me, what was the damage again? You said 14?
14, yeah. Okay. Eee. Oh god, this is terrible. Okay, so you're standing, and he like he slashes out with the axe, and you duck, and then he like takes his sayax and just shoves it into your stomach. He's going to cut basically between the belly button and your balls. He's going to puncture your bladder. There's going to be this smell of like ammonia as urine spills from the wound and onto the blade. I need you to make me a wisdom saving throw.
Okay. I feel real good about this. I just want to point out how thematic this game is because I'm feeling this. I'm so in. Like I've played D&D a ton, and this is not just D&D with Viking paint.
Yeah, this combat is so thematic, and yeah, it's just really cool.
So okay. I crit failed.
Okay, so you just begin laughing like maniacally, like you just don't understand what's happening, and you're just like cackling, like you see this wound, and you basically go catatonic from it. You have disadvantage on all actions until you take a long rest.
You have disadvantage on life.
You have disadvantage for a week.
Now, luckily, urine is more or less sterile, meaning you only have to make a DC 15 con saving throw to avoid an infection. So go ahead and do that.
Okay. Boy. Nope. It's a 3. Hold on. Let me see if I have a plus 15. Nope. Oh, God.
Yeah, you got 8 days till you die from an infection unless you get magical healing. Yep. So he like shanks this blade into you, and you can feel it like deep, and it cuts the bladder, and there's like urine spilling down the wound. You just begin like laughing maniacally. like a response as your brain goes into shock. And as he like pulls the blade out, he like looks at you with this look that's almost like he's sorry that this will be your end. But then he just turns away from you, thinking that you're dealt with, and will turn to face somebody else. That was his turn. Anything you'd like to say?
No, I think that no, that's perfect. I think the laughing maniacally is there, and I think that both voices in my head are laughing maniacally too.
Perfect. That was Skander. Car.
Okay. So Einar, are you down or are you still?
No, I'm up. I'm
Okay.
not down. I am not.
You are a
down.
tough old son of a bitch. I think the focus here is to win this battle and then deal with the dead and the wounded. And so I am going to continue my attack. Is Skander within reach of me?
Definitely. Yep.
I'm going to continue pummeling him with a spear. So I come in. He's sort of turning away from Einar as Einar is sort of staggering backward with his hand going to this wound in his gut. And I'm going to come at him with a spear. Oh, yes. That's a natural 20, baby. That is a natural 20. Okay,
right.
Odin for sure. He's got my back. Okay, so Lloyd, how do crits work in Iskloft? Double the dice. Does that count towards the radiant damage as well, or just all of them? Oh my god. Okay, cool. So that's 8, 9, 14, 17 damage, and he needs to make a strength saving throw.
He gets a 16 this time.
Okay, so he makes his save, but he's still going to take that nice chunky damage there.
Yes, and also I need you to roll me a d12 and a d20 because he's getting a crit wound.
You're going to get a crit wound, buddy. That's a 6 on the d12 and a 16 on the d20.
Okay, that's bad news for him. High in the d20 is bad. Oh god. Okay, so he like tries to parry that strike, but he's not quick enough, and the blade of your spear is like honed to a razor's edge, and as he like brings it up to parry, just through the elbow and out the other side, and you see his like hand gripping the knife, just and you sever his arm at the elbow. Blood is like pumping out of it, like Tarantino-esque. Just like blood spraying all over it, like soaks you and a bunch of the people near you before he like manages to like press it tight to his side. Let's see if he stays conscious. He does, but he's like pressing that to him, and he's gonna like basically flee. I think when he gets the chance.
As the blood sprays across Carr, he's holding this spear, and he reaches up and draws a rune in the blood on his forehead.
Glory. Okay, that was Carr. Reaver Scum is dead. Godalder is missing in action at the moment. We'll come back to him. Einar, it's your turn.
Okay, so I have these warlord dice and their d8s. I also have some things that I can do. A couple of them are healing effects. So let's see here. So I roll, make an attack. Now, get up. That only is for allies within 30 feet of me. So I can't use that on myself.
No, so this is the thing with the hearth here. Almost all of your abilities are only for allies. So you're really good at helping other people out, but not so much yourself.
Gotcha. So let's see. So I'm reeling as I'm just clutching at this wound that is in my mind shapeless. It's just a tear in me. And so I don't know exactly where to clutch or where to press. And so I think the maniacal laughter is becoming ironic laughter as I watch Carr probably in the fight of his life. I've never seen Carr quite this brutal, and that laughter, I think, helps to center me just a bit. I think what I'm going to do. God, I don't even know what to do. So, because I know that I am.
So if I was you, I would probably like get either Greta or Carr to make an attack. Like use some of your orders to like get them to do things, because you yourself at the moment are like in bits. So maybe like it's a like a desperate sort of like help me.
Yeah,
you know?
I think that's what I would do. And I wish you wouldn't happen to have Goodalder's character sheet, would you?
I could get it.
Because I think he's the one that I would want to make the attack, him or Greta. So with this command, would she?
What am I, chopped liver?
What? Well, I'm thinking of the Barker was doing like 40 damage, and James gets to attack 3 times.
Yeah, I have a sheet if you want him to attack.
Well, here, let me ask you this question mechanically. For the command, if I do that command, would she be able to attack twice like she normally would, or just the once?
I think it says make an attack, right? It doesn't say
an attack, right?
Yeah, so one attack.
All right, so I think to keep Goodalder in the fight, I think that's what I would probably do. I'm clutching, and I make eye contact with Carr. And for just a second, I want to know if this is the day. And so he knows it, but as I look and I kind of nod to him, I recoil and I turn away. I don't want to know. And as I clutch my bowels and sort of press into a spot that gives me at least a moment of relief, I holler to Goodalder, and spitting blood and spraying. I shout to him, essentially, is this the day that you will die in combat? Are you going to die in your bed, old man? I start shouting and just pushing him, and I want him to basically finish the job that Carr started so well.
Okay. He'll be like slavering like a maniac. Like his eyes are like wide, but his pupils are pinpricks, and he's just like screaming Odin over and over again. He's going to like push his way forward, and then he's going to attack. Do you want to roll?
You know what? I think thematically you should, because I'm clutching my junk.
Okay.
Your split junk. It's like a split hot dog.
Oh.
I don't think that there's ever been a game we've gotten through without one wee joke.
So Goodalder super hits him. He said he had his sword out. So he got a lot of stuff going on here. And this.
I command him to use his ult.
Yeah. So he does 16 damage. Is that enough to do the numbers? Yes. Okay. So Goodalder pushes these people aside. He moves over to where Skander is pressing the arm against himself, trying to hold the blood, and he's pale. And he's basically defenseless. He looks up, and Goodalder just takes the sword in both hands and severs the head. And it just spins in the air and thunks into the Alpha shield in the shield wall. Though you'll see as he falls down onto his knees, that his white knuckle grip is still holding onto that axe. A Skander passes into the corpse hall. That was Einar's turn. Ingvar is dead. Oddleaf is making her way into the shield wall. She's got this hatchet. She's coming for you, Greta. She can see you. She's been throwing spears, and now she's coming for you. She rolls a 15 for the first, which will miss you. Ooh, but a 22 for the second, which will hit. Unless you have some sort of like Herculean armor class I'm not aware of. It's gonna be 9 points of damage, Greta. She like comes in and like hacks her axe into your thigh.
Jeez, I'm just taking it today.
That's life.
Yeah, that sack of wind, I think, is the only reason. I think I might have had 1 hit point left if I didn't second wind.
So she comes up and she like smacks that axe into your thigh, and like hits it an insult and spits in your face. And then it is your turn.
And so immediately I turn and just lay into her with both attacks and a friggin' sword or a shield to the face. So it's a 15 hitter.
It does hit her.
And the second one is a 17. And then I'm going to shield punch her. And that one doesn't hit. So 2. So that's 17 damage total to her. And when I, swing the, it comes in my thigh, and I immediately turn my attention. And as it kind of pulls out and blood starts to go down, my thigh, just swinging into her once and again, and then just barely whiffing. Maybe she ducks under the shield bash.
You miss the shield bash because she falls dead to the ground. The first one gets her in the shoulder, and the second hacks down deep into her chest, and she is falling when the shield comes, and she dies from those strikes. No great warrior was Oddleif. Okay, that was your turn. Thorgeir is the last remaining of these warriors here. He looks around and sees that fact, but he's not going to bottle it and surrender. He's going to try and kill something and kill someone and make a name for himself at least, so that the Allfather notices him before his final hour. He is going to try and finish the piss-bleeding Einar. For a 16 and a 15.
So both of those barely miss.
So Thorgeir is badly winded, and he has these clumsy strikes with the big axe. And maybe there's some gut instinct left in Einar, years of discipline and practice, that he can sense the blows coming in. He ducks sort of almost lazily out of the way, and Thorgeir misses. Skander is slain. Carr, your turn.
So my face is just covered in Skander's blood. And you can just see my eyes, these piercing gray eyes. And the rune that I've drawn on my forehead. And I catch the gaze of Einar from across the battlefield. And I don't answer the question that exists between us. Instead, I draw a rune in the air in front of me. And you recognize this rune. It's very simple, just one shape. And I nod to you, and you see me mouth the words, "Fight." And your weapon is wreathed in flame as I cast the Kanaz rune. You will add 1d6 fire damage as long as I can concentrate on it, and your weapon is now emitting bright light. So basically, I just want you to be able to defend yourself a little bit better here. And then as soon as I do that, I sort of turn and continue fighting in the shield wall against these Iskloftins.
Perfect. Rad. The Galder is really good. I love it. I'm really pleased with it.
It's really good, and it's really fun. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do with it.
Godalder is like running through the shield wall, and you see him like grab the head of one of these Iskloft, and he just like smashes his forehead into his nose again and again and again until there's just goo, and he like pushes him down to the side, and then he like swings out with an elbow and like crushes the nose of another. He's just a whirlwind in the shield wall. And then it's your turn, Einar.
So as Carr whispers this word to me from across the battlefield, he says, "Fight." Maybe I decide that today is the day. But maybe I decide that it doesn't matter what day it is. And so the voice in my head says, "You're feeble, you're old. You're feeble, you're dying. Your belly is spilling out. Your nuts are split." And I say, "So? And yet I stand. And yet I stand." And as I say that, the other voice in my head is quieted. And the sword that I wield ignites. And I press it against my wound, cauterizing it shut. At least the patchwork, the pieces, the irons, just these cross hatch marks across. And I shout. It doesn't feel any less painful. It hurts, and I shout. Oh, we play this game called Get Me in the Chat, and it's been a good game tonight, guys. And so, oh God, James got me so good. I love him and I hate him for it. All right, so I'm back to my rousing. So I am looking around, and I'm not stupidly going to rush to my death, but I want to fearlessly go to wherever the battle is the fiercest. So where would that be? Because if today is the day, I want it to be with a flaming sword in my hand now.
So you think the last champion of these Iskloft is Thorgeir, and he's like near you with the big axe he just like swung for you? He's probably the last, like, if you were like looking at them, you would see that's the last eagle feeder among them, the last like proper warrior. There are lots of like scum and reavers and stuff among them, but this is the last one that would like stand out as a champion. But they're still kind of swarming, although they are like, they've killed a lot of the peasants, but overall, like, you've killed a lot of their big boys, and you can see that their morale is kind of fluctuating.
That's awesome. And so, as I rush in with my left hand, it's bloody, it's slippery, but I grab a dagger and I sort of deftly turn it around in my hand, and I've got my sword that's alight, and I've got this dagger in my other hand. I'm sort of gripping it as the blood, comes in these droves, continuing to pour out of me. And so I'm going to charge him. You said he's winded. I'm going to take advantage of that. And I know what it's like to fight someone who's winded, who's burned all their energy, because I've also seen Godalder do it properly. So I see him and sort of matching as he's breathing in and out, I take an alternate pattern to his breathing, and I feint with the dagger, and I go for his belly with the sword. And I just want to burn him wide open.
Perfect. Go for it.
Okay. I'm also going to be using one of my warlord dice. If this hits, I'm going to use it for the damage. Okay, that's a dirty 20.
That's a dirty hit.
Yeah, it is. All right, so let's see here. Matt, you said that was a D6 additional fire damage?
Yeah, D6 of fire damage.
All right, killer. Ooh, that's nice. Okay, so I rolled low on the sword, but the fire engulfs him. So that's 9 total damage.
Okay. Did you use a warlord die as well?
Oh no. Thank you.
Go.
I meant to.
Yeah.
I said I was gonna. Ooh, 7 on the warlord die.
Ooh, nice.
Much better.
Okay, he's very badly bloodied, almost slain. As you like drag the sword, burning sword across his stomach, you can see like glistening intestines for a moment before he like bends over, and he's like breathing very poorly. There's like blood pouring from his mouth, although he still stands somehow, just barely. He like snarls in your direction. And you can see he's like gripping the haft of his axe as hard as he can because he knows death is coming for him. And Greta, it's your turn.
Death is certainly coming for him. And actually, if it's possible, I want to throw a throwing spear at him.
Yeah, for sure.
And I can do that twice as well, right? With my 2 attacks. So yeah, I think I have 3 of those. I'm going to throw 2 right at him. So that's a 9, or no, I think 21. Yeah, 21, and that's a natural 19. So that those both hit. So, oh, same 1d8. Check that out. That is awesome damage. All right. So that's 25 damage.
Yeah, he is dead. You tell me what happens to him.
And so, he comes up and with all the fainting and swinging in this, and then suddenly, just seemingly out of nowhere, as he's, taking those last breaths, and just the blood coming out of his mouth, there's just like a thunk. And just for a moment, it looks like he'll stand again, and the second one comes in just right in his maybe collarbone, like neck area, and sticks out, and he just falls forward on it.
Yeah, he dies with a thud. And as you look around, you can see that the Iskloft are starting to move back, like they're no longer pushing forward. And they start to like, they're pacing backwards, and then you see the ones in the back like turn and run. And at that stage, the battle is over. Many of the people on your side are like, they have the battle rage upon them, and they're just like chasing down, like hacking down the fleeing Iskloft. At this stage, probably Einar would fall to his knees, that the battle is done, and you would see that like Godalder is like chasing after them, and he's just like flinging weapons and like grabbing them and like throwing them into the sand. He's just this nightmare on the battlefield, screaming to the Allfather. But for all intents and purposes, we are out of initiative.
As Einar falls and he's sort of to his knees, I imagine he, like the sword sort of fizzles as Carr drops the concentration on this rune that he cast, and he sort of catches you as you start to fall forward, Einar, and he'll kind of lay you back in the mud and the blood and the shit that is just coating this battlefield. And he sort of like lifts your mail and opens the front of your tunic, and he sees this just grievous wound that is still bleeding and seeping and like half closed as you've sort of like makeshift cauterized it yourself with this blade. And as you're sort of coming in and out of consciousness, you see just the blood-soaked face of Carr, who has been by your side for years at this point, with this rune drawn on his forehead. And he looks at you and he says, "My Jarl," a title that he has not used since you lost it. "It is not this day that you die. I have seen your death. You die in bed with a smile on your face, your sword at your bedside table, and a flagon of mead. You do not die this day." And I bring out a dagger and I cut my hand. And with the blood, I draw the Gebo rune on his chest, this just very simple X shape. And what happens is I take 1 hit die of damage, which allows you, Tim, to roll a hit die and add your con mod to it and gain that many hit points back.
Awesome.
So I take a little bit of damage and you gain some.
That's a really cool thematic thing.
I rolled max on that, so that hurt.
Ooh.
Nothing but a sacrifice. And so because of the magic of the rune, like you'll see like the outside of the wound basically stays as red and sore, but you would feel, Ionar, the inside of the wound, like the muscle sinews and things stitching back together, which is the important part. So you will not die of an infection, which is something, as it knits back together with the power of Gebo.
And I think too, as I feel this, and as the title Jarl used across Carr's lips, especially in a moment like this, and his reassurance that today isn't the day that I die. And I think that slays the other voice in my head. And when he calls me a Jarl, I feel it for the first time in many, many winters. And I actually clasp his hand, his bleeding hand, and I thank him, but I don't thank him with words. I just thank him with a weathered grin. And thematically, I'm actually going to do the same thing. I actually get to use a warlord die. Basically, you get my charisma modifier plus my warlord die of temporary hit points. So basically, the wound it's my giving it back to you. Like, yeah, I also rolled max.
Awesome. So how much is that in temporary?
So it would be 8 temporary plus my charisma, which is a 3. So 11 temporary hit points.
Very nice. So despite being wounded in several places and despite losing quite a bit of blood through this ritual, Carr remains standing. He remains strong. And he stands up and he sort of bandages this wound on his hand that he's just cut. And he reaches down and sort of yanks you up off the ground and allows you to sort of lean into him, because despite being healed, you're still grievously wounded. And so he allows you to sort of lean on him, this very frail looking man. And as the battle sort of dies down and the rest of these, Iskloftinn are either, jumping into the boat or being killed, he loses the height that he has in battle, the strength that he carries. He sort of begins stooping again, and he fumbles for his spear and sort of leans on it. So leaning on his spear with you leaning on him, and he holds both of your weights up.
And I spit on Skander's head, which is flown, across the battlefield. But as we pass it, as we hobble, I spit on it. Blood, dry, some dried sweat. And I call out the call in response to Greta, basically just checking to see if she's alive as things begin as the fog of war dissipates. And I say, perhaps today is not the day, seeing if she responds.
And as is the normal response after a successful battle. But today is another day we get.
And I smile, knowing that she didn't surprise me at all. I figured she'd be the last one standing if anyone was.
So the Iskloftinn are chased away. There's not enough of them anymore to crew the ship, so they don't go for that. The ones that flee run into the woods and try and run into the countryside. And so not only do you get the silver that they hoarded, but also their ship, which is a significant haul. You can also strip the fine mail of Skander and some of his men, their weapons and things like that. And between the remaining people on your side, you can drag this loot or actually sail it back to Trafljot. and pull in there to where the Jarl is. He would be grateful to see you and very pleased to see you. There'd be a huge celebration upon your return. Yeah, it would take a little bit of time for Einar to recover, but recover he would. Maybe he'll never be the same, but he would recover. But that night, as you are like celebrating in the Jarl's Hall, and like the party is reaching a sort of fever pitch, and there are people dancing and singing, and there's like games being played, and like they've just finished a game of Boast Roast Toast, and like it's been pretty rude and raucous, and people have been shouting and cheering. And yes, the kid did make it. He made his way through the shield wall, and he would be like telling excitedly to the others there, like what he had gone through and how he had stood in the shield wall next to these heroes. But as the night kind of goes on, there would be a moment where you hear screams outside. One scream, and then two, and then five, and then a great many. And then there's and like the doors are smashed open to the hall, and the torches go out, all of the fire. And there's like a thing there, something. There's like this awful stench of the grave of it, this thing. And it like looms big, and you can just see like the outline of it. And there's just this like innate sense of fear that like strikes through you, and all of the men are like grabbing their crotches and spitting, and they're like carving the Eye of Odin into the table, and they're grabbing at their amulets. This thing is dead, but come back. And it says, "I am come from Corpse Hall to reclaim what was taken. Oath gold and blood ember taken from my mound." And if we had 5 more hours, we would continue, but that is where we're going to end tonight's session. So that's very much, guys.
Dude, I thought he was there for Carr. I was like, uh-oh. Sorry, bro.
The guy, he's like, who in here has been casting runes? And I'm just like, Carr like sidles towards the back door, just like,
he like puts his bag of runes in someone else's pocket.
Yeah. But so that thing showed up for the Jarl's gold that he has. Fuck that guy.
The Jarl, when he had to give away his silver, was worried that the men wouldn't serve him anymore, so he went and stole gold from the tomb.
Fuck.
You never steal from the dead. So that's Asbjorn. That dead man is Asbjorn that we talked about.
That's even better. He's like, dude, you fucking, I had to wake up and come because come on.
Yeah.
Like, just gotta go beat his son, basically.
And that's awesome too, because James, you were like calling him out and saying like, oh, well, you're clearly
exactly
your great granddad or whatever.
Oh man, yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, that's so cool. Also, crazy dead things. You know what I mean? Like that's just a really cool tone thing for Iskloft.
You don't fuck with the dead. They're real scary. I had like a whole thing planned, but we just took a lot of time in the shield wall, and I'm really glad. But like there was like a whole more of this adventure. But I'm like, the whole thing is called like Draugadróttinn, which is like the Lord of the Dead. Like none of that happened.
Oh man, Lloyd wrote an adventure path for Iskloft, and we got through the first part of it.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so awesome though.
That is really cool. That's fucking great.
Yeah.
Cool guys. Well, thanks. That was really fun.
Oh yeah, man, that was so cool,
man.
Really
Absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, I once just forgot that we were on my channel, so I should probably say something.
Wait for you to do it.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for tuning in. This was an absolute blast. I really, really enjoyed playing in Iskloft. And Lloyd, thank you for coming on here and running this game. This was a lot of fun. Again, the link down in the description to both the Kickstarter for Iskloft as well as the Jarl DM YouTube channel, where you can watch a ton more Iskloft games. There's a great campaign on there called Saga that is just like tops. Really, really enjoyable. So Lloyd, is there anything else that you want to add or say to sell people on this setting if they aren't already?
I'm bad at that. I would just say that like if you like gritty fights that feel like actual fights, then this is a good product to get. No fancy duels, no like on guard, no like shining heroes. It's headbutts and it's stabs in the balls and it's real fights. If you like mysticism and weird magic that feels magical and impressive, then maybe check it out. If you like Vikings, then have a look.
Absolutely. All of that.
It seems
100%.
to be, it seems to be like what Fate of the Norns could have been. Right? If I can, I don't know. I haven't played that. So
if you didn't actually have to know how to cast rune magic in order to play it, that would be Fate of the
I
Norns.
just can transfer all of my Fate of the Norns hype right into this. I'm like, hey, I know how to play that game.
Yeah.
So that's
so again, thank you. And I see Taylor in the chat is saying to be continued in all caps. I would love to do a part 2 of this at some point and see what else these guys get up to, because this was a lot of fun. So thank you again, guys, for tuning in. Again, link to this Kickstarter down in the description. Take care. Happy gaming all. And Odin!